you never know who's watching, who you're going to or who you can impact. It becomes, I'm not showing up for me, I'm showing up for the other people. Do the work today, do everything you can, allow the team to take care of you, and then let's face tomorrow when tomorrow comes.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. My name is Rich Roll, and as some of you guys know, among other things, I am an endurance athlete known for doing some crazy stuff like double iron distance triathlons. And that time I did 5 iron distance triathlons on 5 Hawaiian islands in under a week. Well, James Lawrence, AKA the Iron Cowboy, makes all of that just sound, cute. This guy recently completed what I think is one of, if not the most astonishing achievements in the history of voluntary human endurance by completing 101 consecutive iron distance triathlons in 101 days. In other words, for context, every day, without missing a single day, for 101 days in a row, this guy climbed out of bed, swam 2.4 miles, rode his bike 112 miles, and then completed a marathon, 26.2 miles on foot. Now, as somebody who has a bit of experience with this type of thing, even I have a hard time comprehending it, even though I twice traveled to his neck of the woods in Linden, Utah, both for day 91 and day 100, to really just get a glimpse of it for myself. Well, as you might have guessed, he's here today. He's joined by his amazing wife, his better half, and team captain, Sonny Joe, to help all of us make sense of this crazy affair. In addition to just breaking down the enormity of this feat, this, I think, is a really powerful conversation that just might forever change your perspective on human potential. It's also a masterclass on mental toughness, where it comes from, how to develop it, and the power we all possess to endure the unimaginable, as well as the critical role that teamwork, community building, and service play in accomplishing audacious goals, as well as how presence and mindfulness really hold the key to achieving the impossible. So, without further ado, please hit that subscribe button, kindly tag that notification bell, and let's do the thing. Good to see you guys. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, buddy.
Last time I saw you, you were in a different state of mind.
I would have been. I'm not going to say I remember much.
You look a little bit better now.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess the first thing is, how are you doing? Like, how are you recovering? How's the body doing? How's the mental state? I know it's been a bit of a
Yeah, it's been a journey
battle.
For sure. Yeah. Very different than coming off the 50. Coming off the 100. I mean, this is what they warned me about coming off the 50 was, hey, there's going to be a letdown. There's going to be some depression. There's going to be some whatever. And coming off the 50, it was just like this whirlwind right into what was next. And this one, we're more established, and I was already doing what I was going to be doing coming out of the 100. And you take a 7-week adventure and turn it into a 14-week adventure, which is a quarter of a year. That impact on the mind and the body is significant.
Yeah.
And I had no idea the level of which my world was going to get rocked.
We told him. He didn't listen.
Yeah. Well, you told him after the 50 and it didn't happen, right?
Yeah,
so he got all cocky about it.
I did.
Really?
Yeah,
You did?
I did. I was like,
He really did.
Well, it's funny, and I've said this before, but I had someone asked me on day 98, could I do 200? I think somebody asked me that on the therapy table, didn't they, one night?
Yeah.
Like close to the end, could you do another 100?
Yeah.
And I was like, immediate. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Let's keep going.
You were just in the groove.
But then day 102, I was like, how the hell did we get to this point? Like, how did we even do that? And so it was very apparent and very amazing to me, the power that the mind has and what it was protecting me from. And then, but the team could see it from the outside looking in, right? Because I was on, when we do these things, we're on very different journeys. Same storyline, different journeys, right? Same time frame, different journeys. And so, and you don't go from like, oh, day 60 to 61, you go from things are normal to I'm in a protective state. You slowly slip into that, and you don't realize you're transitioning.
Right. Like your brain is compartmentalizing everything
Yeah,
and just trying to keep you alive. So your blinders have you just focused on the task at hand and everything else is obliterated.
And my team that intimately knows me, meaning my wife, she could see a slow change, but then she knows, okay, this is not normal to what.
Was there a moment,
baseline.
Sonny, where it tipped and you're like, we're in a danger zone situation here? Were you ever concerned beyond the normal?
I've been married to James way too long for that. I disregard any warning signs. I think the thing that was most challenging was the mood swings. So on the 50, he was completely non-coherent. There was no one home. And it was like we were guiding this zombie through this journey, where this time around, he had a little bit of his mind, but thought he had more of his mind than he did. And so there were some issues with him trying to make executive decisions or doing things that he had no business doing, thinking his mind was right. Mm-hmm. But then the moods were all over the place. And so for me, we've been married 20 years. I know exactly what type of person he is, how he behaves under certain circumstances and whatnot. So to see these different moods and these different personalities come out, I was like, wow, he is in a really bad place because we've been married 20 years and I've never seen this person. Uh-huh. And so I had to check myself and make sure that I didn't internalize any of that and just say, I got to get him through this. And to know there were things I wanted to say in the moment that I had to check myself and say, but this is what I need to say, and this is how I have to work him through this. So that was quite complex. And frankly, I don't think anybody had the skills to do it other than me.
Yeah.
So,
well, being the team captain, you had so many jobs. I think people don't really appreciate, the amount of effort and intentionality and just, the extent to which this commandeered your entire life and your family's life. This was a family journey, but you being kind of captain of this ship, part of that responsibility is, given that you know James so well, knowing when it might be appropriate to pull him aside and pull the plug on this thing, right?
Definitely.
If it's really going south.
Definitely. And at the same time, masking the severity of the situation to James or towards James to make sure that he doesn't get discouraged. Because I'm the ultimate optimist and I'm the ultimate problem solver. So if I showed any signs of weakness or concern towards James, it would have completely demoralized him. Mm-hmm. So I had to maneuver and manage the severity of certain situations behind his back without him seeing it or knowing it to make sure that it didn't demoralize him in this journey.
Right.
That's a very complex thing, especially where I'm a very forthright person. I'm not one to just be like, everything's okay. I'm very forthright. And so it was a delicate balance of saying, what has to be addressed, what not. And at the same time, James didn't listen to anything we said anyway. So, if I said, this is really serious, you're going to die today, he'd be like, that's great, I've got things to do. So it was quite an interesting balance.
Yeah.
I was never going to die, though.
No, he was never going to die.
No. But when I think about the difference between the 100 versus the 50-50-50, as mind-blowing as the 50-50-50 was, a big portion of that was logistics and managing chaos and all the crazy variables that are baked into going from state to state to state. And the difference with the 100, despite the fact that it's twice the distance, is that you could implement systems and minimize the amount of chaos to create, some level of predictability. Obviously, when you're doing 100 iron distance triathlons, there's going to be stuff that happens that you're not going to foresee, and we're going to get into that. But I'm interested in your expectations for, how it would go versus how it unfolded. Because you thought like, okay, well, I'm at home. I'm going to sleep in my bed every night. I've got this team around me. We have a home base. I'm going to go out and do this one thing, and it's essentially going to be the same every single day.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this one thing first. Before we started, I said, I'm going to sit down with the Wingman. James, you're not invited. We're going to have a conversation about some of the things that went wrong on the 50 and how we can change them. And all of them were tied to logistics.
Yeah.
So going in, we were like, we don't even know what to worry about, because everything from the 50 that was complex had to do with logistics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the whole premise going into the 100 was, okay, if the 50 truly was chaos, logistics, if we remove that, can we double what we did? And because the original goal going into the 50 was how many consecutive can I do? What's my limit mentally and physically? And we settled on the 50 because it was a cool project. We threw in the logistics and that became the kind of centerpiece of the project. And so with years removed from the project and having an opportunity to now, COVID happens, my calendar gets wiped clean.
Right.
Having an opportunity
you were on
to
the
plan.
speaking circuit, basically traveling all over the place.
Speaking,
giving
coaching, and
talks.
racing.
Mm-hmm.
All three of those things got shut down in 48 hours. And so I basically had a year to start to prepare and get ready. And we were initially going to do the project in the fall, like right now. And I just kept getting the impression, March 1st, do it March 1st, start March 1st. And a lot of times with like gut or intuition, we don't know why in the moment. And a lot of people will not follow it because it's not logical. It doesn't make sense. And Sunny and I we talked about it and she was like, well, if you keep getting the impression, we've got to do it in March. And now looking back on it, there's a lot of reasons why March made way more sense than it did now. But the problem that it created was it upped the timetable 6 months. And physically, that's a big difference when you're preparing for this, when you have, over the past 5 years, removed from the 50, become out of shape and not ready. And I was really relying on past experience. And I also knew that, okay, this project is a quarter of a year, and I'm going to use the 100, the first half of it, as training for the back half. Well, you just can't anticipate the toll that, that amount of volume is going to do to your body.
Yeah.
And right out of the gate, I just got riddled with injuries and problematics. And it was just like, now we got to solve these problems.
Right.
Because we decided October. So that left.
That was the original.
November, December, January, February. We had 4 months, was it?
Yeah. And you didn't do a ton of running, getting ready for it, right?
I did almost no running.
Wow.
None. And if it was like 12-minute mile on a treadmill, if it was.
Yeah.
Like
so I was running max 3 days a week.
And the reason for that was
I say 2. He says 3. 2.
Maybe it was 2.
What was the reaon for that? Did you have some injuries that you were dealing with that, or?
So I did have an ankle injury that I didn't vocalize, but I wasn't concerned about it because my body's great at adapting and evolving, just from a decade worth of experience. But for me, the running is the hardest on my body and always leads to, with any athletes that I coach, running is the biggest contributor to injury. And so I was like, okay, if I can become super strong, powerful on the bike, I'm not going to be running fast. My body will adapt and evolve in the first part of it. Well, to go from running, 2 days a week,
right,
to what's the quick math? 26 times 7, 140 miles a week. That's
not a lot of wisdom in that.
That's the quickest way to get injured.
That's his mind, though.
Right.
He doesn't think, I'm going to go from this to this. He says, I have this idea and I'm going to do it.
Right.
Right. He doesn't.
I just remember in the early, I don't know, all the days kind of blur together, but it was definitely early in the conquest where things were going sideways. And your mantra was, this is the process, like this is the adaptation period. And it just looked like everything was completely unraveling and you were hobbling and it just was not. And you're like, we just have to get through this phase until the body adapts. And I was like, good luck with that, man.
Well, we couldn't believe it. Things went sideways so fast and so early.
Early, not even a week.
Like
not even 5 in or something.
Not in a week,
like
and
that.
I'm like, I'm in a lot of pain and I'm in a lot of trouble. But our team just doesn't quit, and that's the interesting part. And we don't quit on each other. And so nobody was like, hey, we should probably dial this back. We're just like, okay.
Your ankle was like 3 times the size.
Oh my gosh.
I want to find that picture when I'm sitting on the fireplace mantle, and it is just like, you can't tell the difference between my quad and my ankle.
Well, and part of why I'm laughing so hard is because on the 50, I remember 6 days in, he's miserable, and I'm like, he'll adapt like at day 10. Then day 10 comes, and I'm like, he'll adapt like day 15. we're like to day 30, and I'm just saying, oh yeah, his body's going to adapt. It's going to adapt.
We just kept waiting
Any
for
day
it.
now.
By the time we were on like day 85, and we're like, why are we still dealing with foot problems and blisters?
Seriously.
Right. Maybe it's because you're getting up every day and doing an iron distance triathlon and not giving your body the ability to adapt.
Why are we so positive? I
don't
mean,
know.
we're such fools.
I just remember Sonny saying multiple times, like with 20 to go, every single, like, why are we still dealing with this problem? Why is this
like
still a
foot
problem? Like, we're
blisters.
80 days into this. We should have overcome this by. And so this, if I was to contrast the two, the 50 and the 100, the 50 was chaos, logistics, and fatigue. This one was injuries, pain, and longevity. And it just never let up.
Mm-hmm.
And so
They had nothing in common.
they were two very different
They had
projects.
nothing
On the
in
surface, you're like, oh, consecutive. Very, very, very different, projects. And we were dealing with very different things on both of them. And we were in very different times of our lives too. I mean, we're talking 6 years removed from that accomplishment. And that was the biggest thing too, is like leading into the 50, we're talking a consistent decade worth of projects leading up to it, stepping stones, growth, and then right into the next one. Well, then you pause for 6 years because you're, providing for the family, you're speaking, you're coaching, you're mentoring, you're doing all these things. And then you're like, oh, let's just pick up right where we left off, double it, and try to.
That's how James thinks. That's how he thinks. And I'm like, sweetheart.
What was the original impetus for the idea? Like, was it because everything closed down, or was it already something that you were planning on doing at some point?
No, I had, after the 50, I was done. Like, it was over. Like that, I was satisfied. It was good. And we were just so busy. We were so busy with everything. There wasn't an opportunity to do what's next. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I was always intrigued with what's possible. Is there more?
Once you had time to reflect.
Once I had time to reflect.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't an opportunity, because even if I wanted to carve it out, like, we were booking our speaking well in advance. And for me, we live a great life now. And I was like, okay, I'd have to shut this down for a year in order to do something.
Would that be
like
the responsible thing? Is that
right? And now I've got teenagers. I got 4 daughters. That means 4 weddings. Kids are starting to go to university, and I'm like, I'm looking at the cost of this, and I'm like, I don't have the luxury to stop doing this over here to trying to push my limits even further. And the pandemic really forced my hand in, for lack of a better phrase, but just really put the opportunity on the table, because literally 48 hours, my entire calendar got wiped clean. Every event canceled. My bureau called me. They're like, hey, we just had the entire year's worth of events canceled.
Your month of March was, minute to minute. He had 6 weekends in a row of racing. It was packed. So not only was it wiped clean, but it was like, I was inconsolable, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be an intense 6 weeks, and then gone.
Yeah. But I love the perspective shift. I mean, you can kind of wallow in misery and self-pity over that, or you can use the pause to figure out how to level up. And one of the things that I didn't realize about the 50 was the extent to which you guys were going through a very difficult kind of financial time at that. I mean, I've gone through something similar to that, and using the 50 as a way, like, well, here's what I can do. Like, things are not working out and we're having trouble making ends meet, but I can do this one thing. And there's kind of a big faith piece there that if I do this, somehow the universe will conspire to support me in a new and unique way.
Yeah. Oh,
Beautifully
for
said.
sure. And you always get asked, what's your why, what's your purpose, what's your reason for doing something? And people always ask too, well, why didn't you quit, or how do you keep going? And on the 50, like, our reasons were so strong. Like, it was get our lives back, change the direction of our lives, and quitting wasn't on the table. And then to contrast that to the 100, and the reasons why you're doing it are very, very different. Like, we're established in our, like, it was a huge dice roll for me to double it, because now I'm risking the criticism that we took on the 50. Like, you don't make it past 50. So that, that really rings true on when you just said on week 1, things start to go sideways, and you're like, I'm risking my entire career and decades worth of work for this new project that I don't have to do, because now the reasons that I was doing the 50 are very different than they are doing now. And the 100 was truly, what am I capable of mentally and physically? But because career-wise, there wasn't a huge uptake. There wasn't a huge like benefit to doing it. Like I was already established in my speaking career. We've already got the book, the documentary, everything's going great. And so it was really like, well, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like what's the risk reward to what you're doing?
What's the answer to that?
Why did I do it? It was for me. It was
What's the
personal.
answer?
Yeah, absolutely. It was redemption. I believe a part of it was redemption for me.
Well, you had told me that part of it was motivated by sort of silencing the critics because there was a little bit of mumbling about the 50 because of circumstances, et cetera, a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
So it was about putting that to rest.
There was definitely a huge part of that for me personally. And a big part of my platform is like, look, don't listen to the grumblings, the haters, don't give them any power. And at the same time, I was like,
they're eating me alive.
They're eating me alive. And do you flip that coin and say, well, is there a little bit of reason to what they're saying? And are they, and you really have to have that. That's a hard conversation to have with yourself, like balancing and reckoning those thoughts. And okay, is what they're saying truth? And is there some validity to it? And, over the course of 5 years in speaking and on stages, you get off a stage and you post something that you did. And it's just one person says something online. And you're like, well, am I a hypocrite? Did I really do what I said I did? Am I presenting what I truly believe? And then I had this opportunity when the 2020 hit, like I have an opportunity to reset history. And when we were on the course of the 100, man, day 51 was huge for me. Well, I even had little landmarks too, right? So make it past day 18 when you crashed your bike, fell asleep and crashed on your bike. Make it past day 19 when you got on the elliptical, right? You make it past that and you're like, okay, I've reset that piece of my history. I've reset that piece of my history. That's no longer on the table. And then you make it past 50 and now you're 51 and every day you wake up, you got to break a new world record. And then that becomes fun, right? And so for me, this was the tale of two halves. There was so much pressure on me personally that I put on myself to make it back to 51, right? Because you don't get to 51 and you personally discredited everything you've done in the past. Because if they didn't think you did it the first time, you certainly didn't do it the second time if you fail. And so for me on my journey, that first 50 was like so important to me. And I remember having conversations with Aaron on the bike every single day. Okay, this day means this day means this. Once we make it past here. And the back half became every day just like, this is who we thought we were and who we said we were. And
what I hear in sharing that is this idea of setting an audacious goal, but the path towards accomplishing something that is seemingly impossible is to break it down into these little chunks. I mean, it's truly about what you're doing in the moment. And there's a broader conversation that we can have about being present and the mindfulness that you have to bring to each moment and just focusing on what you have to accomplish in, the next day, the next hour, whatever it is. But having those little benchmarks and then allowing yourself to celebrate them is the fuel that keeps you engaged with something that, otherwise is just too overwhelming to even process.
Well, two different things. One, that moment happened early on, like when you said, looking from the outside, looking in, that things went sideways. It was probably about day 15 when my shin was at the peak of its pain. The first shin problem was at the peak of its pain. And literally every step I took, I thought I was going to break my leg. And I just continued to manage it. And I remember finishing one day, it was probably around 15. And I said to Sonny that night, I said, hey, I don't think I can manage that level of pain for 85 more days. Something has to give. And full knowing that something maybe wasn't going to give, Sonny just said, hey, look, and this is the best advice I got on the entire 100. She said, hey, the work is done today. Do you remember this moment?
Of course I do.
Okay.
It happened more than once.
Yeah.
She said, I remember the one, but she's
the truth bomb.
Because I was like, hey, I would kind of just shrug my shoulders and just complete.
Totally demoralized.
I was totally demoralized, totally dejected, because I was the one that was managing the pain, and I couldn't like voice how much I was dealing with, and
I don't think you could even conceive it because your mind wasn't even. I mean, there was so much dissonance in the mind and the body.
Right.
You know?
And so I remember saying, I can't manage that level of pain for 85 more days because I knew what that took. And she said, you don't have to, the work is done today. And I was like, what? She's like, just trust in your team. Let us take care of you tonight. You're done today.
He was in the shower.
I
said, you're in a hot shower because it was freezing, right?
It was cold too.
I was like, you're in a hot shower.
We were dealing with so much that
right now, you're in a
first
hot
2 weeks.
shower.
And so, and she said, we have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. You could feel totally different tomorrow. Now I felt like crap the next day,
Right.
But we did turn corners. And that became, for me, the mantra of the entire campaign was do the work today, do everything you can, allow the team to take care of you, and then let's face tomorrow when tomorrow comes. And then for me, deeper into the campaign, back to what we were just talking about how we had those benchmarks, and the first half was really me resetting history, or my history. Slow Twitch has been one of the biggest haters of me.
The Slow Twitch forum is not not a friendly place.
It's not a friendly place. And I mean, they were ruthless towards me. And I've actually had the owner of Slow Twitch reach out to me recently and wants to sit down, which I'll do.
Herbert? Yeah.
Yeah, which I'll do. But there was a point in the 100 where Aaron had gone on, Aaron's one of the wingmen, and he had gone on to Slow Twitch, and he said, hey, they have started a forum that says, James has done it. And this thread is nothing but positivity about it. And in that moment when Aaron came and said that, I was like, I freaking turned Slow Twitch.
How many days in were you at?
Oh, well
this
past
point?
halfway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
So it took
we were
that long
60s
before
or 70s.
you could shift
for
that
sure.
Titanic around.
Yeah, but for me, that was like that was like the last thing for me to reset my
Last
history
thing
and
unfinished.
unfinished business for me. Was like, hey, Slow Twitch has started a positive forum about you, and I'm like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my moment. So
that's no small thing for anybody who's familiar with that ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so those kind of two moments for me were really pivotal. That conversation with Sonny early on, where I was completely broken, couldn't conceptualize 85 more. And then fast forward all the way to where we'd reset history. We'd made it past all of those personal benchmarks of mine. And then Slow Twitch starts a positive only forum about the Iron Cowboy, who has been their biggest target for years and years and years.
So obviously, Sonny, this is a family decision. So did James come to you with this idea? Did you concoct this together? Like, what does that look like as a family with 5 kids when 14 weeks are going to be monopolized by this endeavor, and it's going to take everything that all of you guys have, and you've got kids who are living their own lives and need attention and care? Like, how does all of that work? Because if there is, a sliver of criticism out, it's like, oh, this is selfish, and they're shirking their responsibilities with their kids and all of that. And like, as somebody who knows you guys and visited twice during this event and, bore witness to what was going on, like, this was a family adventure completely. Like, all your kids are in. I mean, Lucy, forget about it. We could do a whole podcast on how amazing she was throughout this whole thing. But what did that look like as a family decision and as a family affair?
We had conversed and researched some other projects. So a couple years after the 50, James was like, I kind of have some ideas. And so we kind of researched some ideas and never
There's
really
a lot of
working
pressure
out.
from sponsors. Hey, biggest question? What's next? What's next? What's next?
And he's a dreamer. So, his mind is always brewing. So we thought about all these different ideas and they weren't really working. And James has a lot of ideas. You guys only see what happens. So as we kind of went through these ideas.
Box Jake Paul or something.
Sure, why not? Let's go. Yeah. Where's McGregor? Where are you?
Where's my 100 million for the fight? So
I'm due for a payday, Rich.
So we had kind of explored these different ideas, but I hadn't gotten all caught up in them because there's so much complexity to preparing them that my mind was open to ideas, but I wasn't necessarily concerned about the investment yet. And then as they continued to fall through and, these aren't going to work the way we thought would, he said to me one day early in that year, maybe May, he's like, I just keep thinking about doing 100 fulls. And I was like, really? because he had kind of not been soured, but had been turned off by the 50 just because it had been so intense that I was surprised that he was going to consider something in that same type of realm, but even harder. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then a week later comes back. He's like, no, I really can't stop thinking about it. So we kind of talked about it for a couple weeks. And finally I said, if you can't stop thinking about it, that's God telling you to do it, which makes no sense. I mean, everything James has ever done in his life makes no sense, including sitting on a Ferris wheel for 10 days.
Right.
It's like there's no logic to James's goals and dreams and aspirations. So he's like, I'm going to kind of dangle a carrot, talk to some sponsors, kind of feel it out, do a little research and see how I can maybe make this work out.
And how it would be received.
Yeah, how it would be received, how much support I could get, if it really is something that could work. And so in August, he said, hey, it's going to work. Everybody's in. And when you realize how long it is, then you're saying, okay, my gosh, how are we going to fit this into a 4-seasoned year? In Utah, we've got 4 seasons. So he said, I'm either going to catch an early snow or I'm going to catch, a late snow in the spring or an early snow in the fall. I said, well, you're less likely to have an early snow in the fall. And if you do, it's just going to be a one-day thing and melt. So we kind of established the idea of starting in August, doing August, September, October. In Utah, we have a lot of sunshine in the winters and, we don't get snow till a little later in the year. So we're like, this is going to be great. And then he comes to me and says, hey, I keep feeling like we should do this in March. I was like, March? He's like, yeah, March 1st. I'm like, really? So I kind of sat out for a couple days and then I looked at my calendar and I was like, you can't do it in March. I mean, I had the entire spring planned out, from my 40th birthday to spring break to all of these things on this calendar. And I was like, James, if you do this in March, it's going to completely disrupt my year.
It quickly came, don't talk to me about this until after Thanksgiving and after Christmas. Then I'll process it.
So I said, he's like, okay. And then he kind of came back again. He's like, I just feel like we should do it in March. And I was like, oh my gosh, right now in this moment, I hate you for this. Because James is a person of conviction and he's not going to come to me and say, I think we should do this unless he actually thinks we should do it. He's not bluffing on stuff like that. That's just not his personality. If he's passionate about something, there's something to it. So I was like, I hate you right now because I know this must be the right thing to do, but it's going to ruin my life. So this was like in November. Our anniversary is at the beginning of December and
our 20th.
He's like putting in little blurbs like, this and that. And I was like, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, I have to process this. Like, this is really going to mess my year up. And so our anniversary came. We were obviously stressed out our mind planning for the 100. I said, we got to do something. It's our 20th. We always travel, but obviously last year was different with COVID and everything. So we just did a staycation in Park City and we got to dinner and he's like, I can't do this without your support. So you're telling me we can do it, but I know the support's not there. I know you don't have your own conviction or whatever. And so I was like, you just need to give me time to process this. I did a lot of praying. And within 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm all in. He's like, you're all in? Shocked, right? Oh my gosh, you're all in. Are you sure you're all in? I'm like, I'm all in. Because at that point, I had my own conviction. Like God had told me myself this was the right thing to do. I knew. And so I just canceled everything. It was like the year was canceled because I knew from March to June, we had Easter and graduation and birthdays. And just so many things that I was like, okay, I'll do the best I can to prepare for these before we start going so far as to packing Easter eggs and preparing all the baskets and putting them in my closet. So that when it came, because with the 50, there were a lot of promises of, it's going to be this great adventure. It's going to be super easy, blah, blah, blah. And then it was complete havoc. So I'm like, I know the idea is that this will be simpler because we're at home, but the reality is I know that won't really happen. So I was trying to plan everything I could before we started. But then I knew it was go time. And I knew, so whenever James would struggle, I knew it's what we were supposed to be doing. And so I just always looked for a way through it. He couldn't do that because his mind wasn't there. So my job was to be the sound mind through that experience and to rely on the faith that I knew it's what we were supposed to be doing and to seek solutions.
And to be all in, it was all consuming. Your house was completely taken over as this HQ for this thing with all kinds of people there.
It's like everything I've done is gone, right? It's like,
That's
there's
a huge
no
sacrifice.
There's no
I hope it's sunny
pickleball,
time
there's
now.
no.
I ruined our 20th wedding anniversary and our 40th birthday. It's two huge landmarks.
It's the Day of Atonement, James,
Yeah,
right
I know.
now.
But really,
Like-
I wasn't going to try to find balance. It was not appropriate. The balance would come later. That 100 days was about this project. It was about James's project. I knew I would have my time later. There was no need for balance. It was literally just dive in and go for it.
Well, and when she signs off and says, I'm all in, I immediately panic because when she goes all in, it's all in. And then I realize, it's official.
This
and
is
then I'm
real
like,
now.
I only have 4 months to get ready for this. And I'm nowhere
crazy.
close physically.
Well,
And
so
that
I-
March start date, I mean,
Oh, it was so
come
early.
on.
So I
I'm
sat
watching
down.
this on Instagram and I'm like, it's snowing every day.
It's 18
Every day.
degrees.
It's freezing.
Day one was 18
and
degrees.
you keep thinking like, well, just maybe a couple more days of this and it'll get nice out. And that winter just extended,
Well,
I saw how the heat affected you at the end, so I understand the logic of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you do better in cold than in heat.
Well, and if you look now, the fires that we're dealing with, like Utah has literally the worst air quality in the world right now. And this would be the month 2 of 3 months of doing it.
Yeah, on
and
top of
we'd be
the
dealing
heat
with
and-
the heat. And literally 1 week after we finished on June 8th or June 9th, 107 degrees outside, pavement temperature was 120.
Wow.
1 week after.
Yeah, that would have buried you.
It just would have completely
Well, and the other
shut
part
me
was
down.
is that the family was occupied, right? So it didn't consume their summer. So the kids were still in school. My job was to make sure they were still living their life, feeling like they could just be themselves and enjoy this journey. And so they were still in school, they were still working, they were still doing their normal things, and they just enjoyed the 100. They jumped in where they wanted to, and they enjoyed it.
Except
So
for
the
Lucy.
timing was beautiful.
Yeah, except
I
for that.
mean,
I think
this
it's
became a full-time job.
But she wanted
She
that.
crushed it.
She did. I
She
want to
is
say quickly
awesome.
too for the listeners that maybe don't know us is we have 5 kids and 4 daughters, 1 son, and during the campaign they were ages 11 through 18, and so it just for the new listener
Yeah,
who
they can
maybe doesn't
enjoy
know
it.
who we are, they
And
realize
then
that we
Lucy,
have
of
5
course,
kids.
was the project manager of sorts and James's assistant and ran all the social media. That's like her dream job, though. So
Right.
although her stress level was like to the max, oh man, that's exactly where she wanted to be.
Did she ended up getting a job out of this, right? Like any brand who was watching what was
yeah.
going
Well, she got a job
down.
offer from Visa as an
She
apprentice,
did,
and I
yeah.
was like, no, she's mine. So I've hired her full time.
Oh,
She
you
runs,
have?
she
Okay.
runs
she
my.
had
So you
a
gotta hold
lot
on to
of
that.
dates that she was asked on, and she had a lot of job offers, all of which she turned down.
Yeah, jobs and dates.
She's like, why are these
was a
people trying to
plenty.
date me online?
She earned it. She was on point the entire time. It was unbelievable.
She was special.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the obstacles you faced. I mean, you alluded to the shin problem and the ankle problem early on. That got ameliorated by this brace, like this custom kind of carbon fiber thing that you got at some point that allowed you to offload some of the pressure on your shin.
Yeah, I think any journey, especially if you a longer journey, to be successful, and anybody that's been on a journey will say that there was a little bit of luck involved. And this brace situation was a whole lot of luck, or Jesus, a bit of both. It just so happens the number 1 guy in the country that makes custom carbon braces for ankle and shin problems lived off of the trail that we were running on. Like he had just moved there. And one of the
Like
cyclists
in Linden?
in Linden,
Yeah.
Wow.
one
Yeah,
of the
just up the street
cyclists
from
that
us.
joined us is an orthopedic surgeon that refers all of his post-surgery clients to this outfit. And so I was on the run one day, and he obviously got wind that we were struggling and my shin was bothering. And he says, hey, have you ever considered a carbon-plated shin brace?
It's an insole for your shoe. The brace just holds it to the leg, but it's a carbon insole to absorb the shock.
And I said, I don't even know what that is. So I obviously haven't considered it. And he goes, let me talk to my guy. What it is it's a carbon, like Sonny just said, a carbon plate that goes on the bottom of your shoe that they fit custom. And then it's got a bar that goes up the side or the front, depending on the how strong you want it to be. And then it anchors on the top of your calf. Essentially, that carbon plate and the anchor point with the bar completely offloads that shin and allows it to heal. And I said, well, can people walk in it? He goes, people can run in them. And he goes, the first version we'll put you in, we'll completely offload it. It's pretty restrictive. You'll be limited to walking. But as we see, and if we see progress, we can get you into a running brace. And so we started with that one, and he would meet me at each one of those intersections off the trail. And he's like, do you have any, like he just said, these are normally custom, but we're going to give one to you. I've got one, and we'll have to tool it and tweak it as we progress. And so he'd give it to me. I'd put it on. He goes, the goal is to have no touch points on your leg. And I was like, okay, it's touching here and here. And he would take it into the back of his van, and he would machine tool it, and he would like quickly get to the other intersection before I got there, and we'd like, put this on. And we did that over the course of 26 miles. And by the end of that day, we had a brace that was somewhat custom to me, but it wasn't touching any part of my shin, relieving all pain and allowing me to progress. And so then every single day we would go through and manage the level of pain that I was having and where this brace was touching, and we would tweak it, and he'd come out on different days and make sure we were still progressing. And I ended up being in that brace for 3 or 4 weeks. And then we upgraded to the more flexible one, which allowed me to run some sections in it. And it was just, it was the thing that allowed us to continue, because I said,
you told me that it was so painful, you literally thought you were going to snap your leg, and you were willing to snap it. You're like, I'm going to snap my leg before I quit this thing.
Yeah, it was going to get to the point where that it was going to snap, and that's what was going to make allow
That'd be the only circumstance under which you would stop.
It was going to be the narrative that the public would say, okay, that is an acceptable reason. That's a justifiable and acceptable reason to stop. Anything short of that, you're a quitter. And I obviously don't want that. And so that brace saved it, because it'll literally allowed that stress fracture to heal while doing a full marathon every single day, including the bike miles. Now, what came with that was the imbalance that it created, which lightning bolted up into my hip, which then was the next thing. And this project became, like I said, injury and management of injury. And It was this trickle effect, or what's it called? One thing leads to another.
Domino effect.
Yeah, like a domino effect of injury, because it started with the ankle, went up into the shin. We dealt with that, and we figured it out.
Literally moved up through the body.
And I just remember, I was like, I have no shin pain today. And we're like, okay, we're clear, we can go. And the next day, my hip just exploded, stopped me in my tracks. And I remember my therapist, Hayden, he was like, can we not get one day where we're not dealing with something? And it just became this domino effect of, I was always dealing with something.
Yeah.
Like the busted up feet were the relief. It was like, oh, good. Today you're just missing the whole bottom of your foot with skin. So relieved, this is it today. You're looking at his foot thinking, how does your foot look like this 85 days in? Yet we're celebrating this because this is all it is.
Right. It's all perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. You told me some crazy stories about the sleep disruption.
Yes.
I mean, that just sounds terrifying.
It was, because, outside looking in, someone says, oh, okay, he's done the 140 miles today. He can now go rest and recover. Well, that was the second side of that coin, or that journey, right? So on the outside looking in, you're like, okay, he's doing the swim, the bike, the run, 2.4, 112, 26. And then they were like, okay.
The complexities continued.
Okay, he gets to go home and sleep and rest. Well, no, as soon as I got home, 1, I had to refuel. 2, it's 2 to 3 hours of pretty intense therapy on the table.
Yeah, you're on the massage table trying to
immediately
eat, falling asleep while you're eating, while they're working on your body.
Managing problems, solving problems. The house is chaos because everybody's there trying to do stuff.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once everybody leaves and the therapy's done, it was around 11 p.m., midnight most nights. I'd move into my bed. And then my second wave of managing things would start. And the 3 biggest things that we dealt with was incredible hot sweats. We're talking
sweating through duvets, and I mean sweating like you've never seen. It was wild.
And then that leads to dehydration problems, and trying to keep yourself hydrated.
Panic attacks,
night terrors, which finally went away.
Well, the hyperbaric chamber, after a while, we're like, you can't sleep in there because you can't just get out, right? If he's freaking out, we can't get to him. He can't get out. It It was
Right.
wild.
And kind of not really just being able to get a restful night of sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like despite the extraordinary fatigue and you're laying
Twitching.
there on the
Full body
couch or
tremors.
whatever with
Yeah.
Normatec boots
Yeah.
on, falling asleep, like
Yeah.
you're sweating and
Yeah.
having the, and weren't you doing some sleepwalking too?
There were some stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was great stuff.
The kids have some
The
pretty
kids
funny stories.
loved it. That was the highlight of the 100 for them.
I guess there was one time I went upstairs to just check on my daughters, and I had no idea. And one time I was wandering outside the house, and Dolly was coming home from something, and she was wondering what I was doing. I didn't realize it, and they were saying, "Hey, what were you doing outside last night?" And I was like, "I was in my bed last night."
Yeah.
So these crazy stories.
Which
for the
has
kids.
no
No
history of
recollection.
that.
No recollection of it.
no
No.
history
But
of
it's
it
so
either.
interesting, like what is going on physiologically that would cause that? Like
Right.
why? I mean, have you talked to anybody? Like you should hook up with like Matt Walker and have him figure out like what was going on with you or what precipitated like that kind of strange
Yeah, and I don't
situation.
even know how you quantify it or like study it now.
Yeah.
Literally, when I go home tomorrow, I go to a brain MRI to where, because I've been dealing with brain fog and depression and fatigue
It's
and things
still
like
lingering.
that. Yeah, for sure. And I have good moments and bad moments, and it depends on how much like mental energy I have to expend throughout a day right now. But there'll be a point of the day where if I've done a lot, I'd be like, Sonny, I think I need to just like rest, or like I need you to drive home. Right after this is my favorite story. Right after the 50, I was driving down the freeway. And
Like at the finish line, leaving the finish line.
Yeah.
was this leaving?
Yes, because I was stuck with you. Everybody left. We had all this stuff and all these cars and no one to drive them home. So James had to drive the van home from the finish line of the 50 with all the bikes on the back.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different story.
Oh,
But I get
there's
pulled
more
o-
than one.
I get pulled over by the police on the way home from the 50, and just had to have an interesting conversation with the police. But the one I'm talking about was after the 100. The 100 was
You said
over.
after the 50.
I'm sorry, I meant the 100.
She's got brain fog.
Yeah,
Wait,
this
which
fits
time?
perfectly
Yeah,
to what we're
which
talking about.
Yeah.
I'm driving down the freeway, and Sunny looks over to me and she goes, "Sweetheart, you're going 45 miles an hour."
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll pick it up a little bit."
And he did for 5 minutes. And then I was like, sweetheart,
Because
now you're
Yeah.
going 50.
And I remember
the speed
saying
limit's
this is
70.
I remember saying this is a lot faster than we were going on my bike.
Right.
But you
Right.
just, slip into these, bits of brain fog. And so right when I get home, I'm super fortunate. Again, one of the only places in the United States that does this kind of study and testing for concussion and
TBI.
post-traumatic stuff, is in Utah. And they actually put you into an MRI. They set up all the scans. And then they ask you a series of questions, and it's designed to light up every part of your brain once they take you through the whole protocol. And then they can see where blood flow isn't going and which pathways are blocked and what's going on. And then they put you through an extensive 30-hour protocol based on the results that resets and repatterns your brain, turns it back on. And so this is like super exciting for me. Like professional, like a lot of football players will go there from across the country, NFL players or car accidents, concussion people, people that are showing like signs of Alzheimer's and things like that will go to this cognitive therapy place in Provo. And I'm just so
you haven't been there yet. You're going to go there.
Right when I land, I go from the airport to get those
Right.
MRI scans. And then based on the results, we'll start the therapy to kind of like reset my brain.
But when you finished, you came down to UCLA like shortly after you completed the 100 and had a bunch of tests to run. I mean, what was the upshot of that?
Yeah, so we had kind of a baseline testing done at UCLA prior to, and they were mostly looking at like cardiovascular, heart, lungs, things like that, the size of it, what it does under stress, MRIs that way. And then they wanted to see, okay, if you put your body through what the human body can do with 14,000 miles, and then go and get stress tests done, did we create like heart murmurs? Did we create arrhythmic problems? Did we create all these things that we did damage to the body? And as Sonny and I have known, the body's an amazing piece of machinery. We completely stumped the cardiovascular world and the cardiologists, and they were like, "You're fitter and stronger, and you've done zero damage to your heart."
And didn't you like break the record on the
the bike
stationary
test.
bike
Yeah,
there?
we broke the watts record just because I became such a solid cyclist over. I mean, you do 100,
And then you, like
800
after a
miles
couple
week.
weeks of break, you got back on the bike and were crushing some KOMs around your hood,
so
right?
I PR'd around our neighborhood and some of the climbs that we do. And for me, it was more like getting out was more mental than anything. just because sitting at home and focusing on the fatigue and I'm tired and I'm depressed and all that just magnifies the problem. And so for me, getting out the cycling community really came out on the 100. And so I had developed a lot of really great friendships. We'd sit on the bike for 6-7 hours a day and just talk to these new people. And the community really came out and said, this is our project too. We're protecting you. We're going to get you through this. And then a lot of the cyclists went through the same thing I did. They would come out 2-3 times a week for a quarter of a year. And
Change
then
their lives.
overnight that goes away. And they're like, well, where's our group rides? And where's that camaraderie? And we've missed that. And so for me, getting back out was great for me. It was great for the community. It was great for those people that had their journey alongside our journey.
Yeah.
A lot of people are struggling. I mean, COVID happened and the world shut down and a lot of depression and anxiety happened. And Utah happened to be one of the states from the outside looking in where like we had still an opportunity to go outside and do stuff. And it was really great. And a lot of those people before, we just come out of winter. And so people have been trapped inside and COVID and no families and a lot of people lost jobs. And so this was a project where it kind of like gave a lot of people hope and purpose alongside of what we were doing.
I think this is the real story behind the story. There's a lot of focus on how did you do the 100 and like the particulars of that and the family, journey that entailed. But truly, it's the community piece. And,
Absolutely.
It was so impactful to visit and see not only like your town come out and support. I mean, it's like such a beautiful expression of solidarity, all these people who were just there for you guys in every which way. And then on top of that, all these people who flew in or drove in from all parts of the country, all parts of the world. I met people from Eastern Europe who, flew out to have this experience, to share this experience with you, people who were inspired by what you were doing and what you were sharing online, and just so many lives transformed. And I think that gets to this piece about finding the blessings in the misfortunes, like the fact that you were compelled to walk actually made it more accessible for a lot of people, and I think brought a larger, contingent of people out.
Blessing.
Yeah, and became something that people could wrap their heads around, like joining you for a long walk.
That part of it was so beautiful.
Yeah,
that part of it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times every single day, Casey would do kind of a roll count on who's here, where are you from? And Casey did a great job at like including everybody talking, because a lot of days I wasn't in a good headspace to do it, and I was really focused on what I was doing. And their
job, I mean, I spent a lot of time talking to those guys, like their job is to protect you, like keep you, because you're going to get some, some wacky people too who are vying for your attention, and their job is to like make sure that there's a buffer around you so that you can say hello, but like you got to focus on what you're trying to do.
And that was the amazing part was Casey would do the roll call every single day, and then we'd start to hear about other people's stories and where they came from. But then throughout the day, that was one of the coolest things for me to experience was people did give me my distance and respect what I was going through, and just respected that. But what was a lot of fun was for 5-6 hours on the walk run, you could hear the chatter and the people talking and sharing their stories and the subgroups, and it just people that would have never crossed paths before. And every single day, without fail, we had somebody say, or we heard, "Hey, we wouldn't have been able to participate in this. We wouldn't have been able to experience this had James been running." And it was just one of the coolest things that happened. Was the one, you said community. Community was huge. But two, my pain and suffering and injury became a blessing to so many other people that badly wanted to be part of what we were doing, but otherwise wouldn't have had an opportunity to do so. And we were just talking at lunch about this 5-year-old kid who had just turned 6. Do you know this story?
I don't know.
Little Jace.
Oh, Jace. I do. Yeah, but tell, of course.
So it's a really cool story. And this kid says, he was a neighbor of Casey's, and the dad said, "Okay, we'll go out," because the kid really wanted to do part of the walk with us. And people don't realize we were walking at a pretty decent pace. Yeah. And if we did take a criticism from the elites, it was that we were walking. And
I had to run. I couldn't walk that fast.
Yeah, we
was
were,
a
when I
brisk
jogged.
we
walk.
were walking at
Yeah.
pretty good clip, and we blew a lot of people.
I was falling off the back
People
a
up
couple
walking.
times. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's moving pretty good. Like I got to start running here to catch back up.
Yeah.
And so this little kid just got inspired and motivated and said, I want to go do a couple miles with the Iron Cowboy. And the dad was like, okay, we'll get your shoes, we'll get your shorts on, we'll go out, we'll pick our day. And he knocked out 3 miles with us. And then his dad was like, okay, we're done. We did the 5K. And he's like, no, the Iron Cowboy's still going. I want to keep going with him. And you could see him as we started to progress and do more miles. He really started to struggle. But this kid had zero quit in him.
Just bawling. He was just
starting
bawling.
to cry.
He was in so much pain.
He was just in so much pain. He ended out knocking out 20 miles that night.
It's crazy.
20
and
miles.
he had to jog. Because he's
his
just a little
legs,
guy,
like
right?
you think of a 5-year-old kid,
Yeah, it's wild.
right off the couch, knocks out 20 miles, and then was just so upset. His dad ended up telling us that he was so upset that he wasn't able to finish with us because he just couldn't go any further. And so they plotted out another day, and he started before us while we were still on the bike, and he knocked out 5 or 6 or 7 miles. And then we eventually caught him, and he stayed with us the rest of the time. And this 5-6-year-old kid ended up doing a full marathon with us. And it was just one of the most unbelievable experiences. And we were with someone at lunch, and they had just said he hadn't been taught yet to quit, and it wasn't part of his culture. And so like, it begs the question, like, when in our adult journey is that a taught thing? When did it become acceptable? When did that be part of our culture? Because that kid was just like, no, I'm in a lot of pain, but I want to do this, and I'm going to endure until I finish.
He was bawling the last 3 miles, just crying and crying, just kept going.
Crying with a smile on his face and just pushing through. It was really, really special.
And for his father to allow him. You know, a lot of parents are swinging in and rescuing this kid, and Sean let him. Sean let him fight through those tears. Sean let him finish. Like, that's as beautiful of a story as it is that Jace gutted it out.
Yeah, and his sense of personal possibility now is very different than it was before that. But that's just one. I mean, he's the youngest, but there were so many people who showed up who had never done anything before, or were coming off of, crazy weight loss stories and all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot of first marathons.
Yeah, I think the power in what you were doing was that it normalized something that seems impossible to most people, and just to see you doing it day after day after day, and the walking piece made it accessible to people. And so they're like, well, maybe I'll show up and I'll do a little bit, and then they end up doing a little bit longer than they thought they would. And then I'll come tomorrow, and then they're doing like a whole marathon, and there are people who are doing the full
17,
Ironman.
18
like people
pulls.
who would never sign up for an official Ironman, showing up and doing the full thing because they see you doing it every single day, and suddenly it seems maybe not as hard as they thought it might be.
We just sent out hundreds of shirts because what we said to people is, like you said, hey, come join us. And if you do all swim, all bike, all run with us, when this is over, we'll send everybody that finished a shirt. And they finally came in, and we literally, I mean, Lucy's probably still packaging them up right now, but we sent out hundreds of.
They did the full triathlon.
They did the full with us.
Triathlon.
Hundreds. Hundreds of shirts. We had four full boxes show up of shirts.
I mean, we ran out of bags, and I counted how many shirts we didn't have bags for, and it was 50.
Wow.
And that was after we ran out of shipping bags.
Yeah.
So
and so that many people, and most of them, it was their first. Like they just, and we had people that would show up and like, okay, day 15, they're going to do part of the bike ride and see how the pacing goes. And then they showed up and did part of the run.
Or they would see who was finishing the full triathlon, and they were like, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
If that girl can, Clint, a 15-year-old kid, came out and had no like triathlon background at all.
He had no clips on his bike shoes.
He bought a bike 2 weeks before or something, and he
was
got it out.
falling over at intersections because he was so exhausted. It was so fun to see these
Then he rallied
young kids.
and was bringing friends in. And Hunter Sweeten, he's just graduated, and he's Lucy's age, and he's had a really rough upbringing, and he lost 70 pounds, was doing 75 hard, and this was his last final project. He did a full triathlon, and he finished at 2:00 in the morning, well after the group had finished.
And what about the, I forget his name, the Hispanic guy?
Takashi?
Yeah.
I love Takashi. Yeah.
He just
never
posted a
swam,
picture.
never biked, never ran. Got it out that full thing.
He just posted a picture as proud as can be with his Concord shirt on.
He's the
And,
most delightful person on this planet.
Safe, how do you say his name?
Safe, yeah.
Yeah, Safe.
Seth. Oh, Seth.
Seth.
Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, from India.
Who India by way of Dallas, like a PhD student
Yep.
who literally moved, like he just set up shop in Linden and was doing his classes
For a month.
remotely.
Yep.
And showed up for the marathon
and when he finished,
day after day after day.
His last day was several days before we finished, but he was borderline hysterical at the finish line. Like he just sat and hugged me and cried and cried and cried. And
His
he's
life
like,
is forever
he
transformed.
said, "This has changed my life forever."
And we
Cute
had
Seth.
and another really cool story is an individual that followed us before the 50, through the 50, was a
Alex?
massive supporter. No, Josh Powell.
Oh, Josh Powell.
And Josh said, my goal by the end of this campaign is to be able to complete one marathon with you guys. And he would start way before us, and he
still
would
get dropped.
and he'd get dropped and couldn't finish. And by the end of it, he did the last, I think, week's worth of marathons with us. He did a marathon a day for 7 days over the last part and was with us. And he just was so proud, had the biggest smile on his face. But he literally couldn't finish a 10K with us when he started.
Yeah.
And he just showed up every single day. He's got a special needs daughter, and he would set up aid stations for us.
Yeah,
and she was out there cheering for us. And a single dad with full, special needs daughter. And he was just like, this is a goal of mine. I'm going to do this with you guys. I'm going to give you all the support you need. It's stories like that. And Seth and Takashi.
Alex, who followed us on the 50 and then came out and did his first full marathon. I think he started 4 hours before you.
us. And his goal was just to
get
finish the marathon.
Yeah,
and he finished 10 minutes after.
10 minutes after us, and was just bawling.
Yeah.
Just
Amazing.
these stories. And those are just the stories of the people that we got to interact with on site.
We discussed.
The hundreds of messages globally that came in and said, hey, because of your journey, it has given me hope on my journey, and this is what I'm struggling with. And individuals, hey, I was about to take my own life, and your journey started, and it's given me hope, and I'm fighting again. You wonder why, for me personally, I wonder why I do things like this. And I joke that my gift is the ability to suffer. And there's not a lot of benefit to having this gift. And then we receive literally hundreds of messages from around the world of these people that say, your suffering has given me hope on the journey that I'm on. And that is just like soul shaking when
Enough that we
you
remember
receive
them.
those.
We remember names, we remember experiences.
Yeah,
right?
it's really beautiful. I mean, there was a sense of that with the 50, every state that you were in. It seemed like you would pick up a few more people than the day prior. And there was like a momentum thing that was happening that culminated with you doing the final one, in Utah, and all the people that showed up for that. I mean, that was like bananas. So you had to have some sense that you could replicate that on some level. But I think just being in the same place every single day created this like force field, like a tractor beam, right? That was attracting all of these people who knew they could just show up.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, people like, I got on a plane this morning and came, it was wild.
It was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. And we didn't know what to expect because travel restrictions and COVID and all that. And I just, every single day, what shocked me more was the cycling community that came out. And then Sunny would do a live every single day on the swim, and then she'd give me a rundown of the different countries that were live that day, and then we started shipping out shirts to
the countries were shipping
Lithuania
shirts to,
and Poland
Latvia
and Iceland, and we're just like
some countries. I'm really good with geography, and there's some countries that I'm like, I got to look that up. like I've never had to look a country up. I'm like,
and I think for me, and what people need to realize is, you never know who's watching. And you never know who you're going to or who you can impact. And we had no idea that our small family and the journey and the crazy adventures that we do would end up being this global type of impact and changing the way people think about the journey that they're on. And that's so humbling, when you think of this, how big the world is, and and the reach that social media has nowadays.
It's really the best of what social media is able to do.
Who needs media coverage?
Yeah.
Not us.
I know.
Social media did it all for us.
It's just so powerful.
I mean, it was like, I would just every day, like, okay, what's going on? And there was something about the consistency of it, like this metronome, like, okay, here's when you climbing out of the pool every day and putting the Crocs on, I was like, okay, I can start my day now. Like he's out of the pool, he put the Crocs on,
He's
you know,
good to
like
go.
I can go like
got
out
the
and do my
James
thing. It's
towel.
like, I got to see the Crocs before I can like legitimately go out into the world.
He told me, he's like, this James, it's a swim towel that I got them out for Christmas. Each of them had their names, and people, you know, were like, wait, what happened? You changed the James towel. Because James said, it's not absorbent enough. I want a different towel. And then everybody freaked out. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Like
Back to the James towel.
like
So I hung a good towel in the bathroom and still wrapped him in that James towel.
Because as normal and as routine things needed to be for us, I think people started to expect this certain routine.
The Crocs and the James
Crocs
towel.
and the towel and me Lucy waiting for me to roll in off the bike, and they just expected these moments every single day to happen.
You gotta capture that. As long as you get that one thing every day, like that's an important piece in the story that needs to be told every day.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it was totally not the same for us every day.
Sure.
But that created an illusion of
Normalcy.
normalcy.
Right, exactly. Adam Skolnick told me that, you know, when he was down kind of like hanging out with you guys and he did the swim on either the second to last day or whatever it was, that, I mean, you did, I don't know, what did you broke it up into a set of hundreds every day, right? So that the swim would be essentially exactly the same amount of time every day. But you would kind of come into the wall and then everyone would wait for you to go. Like there's a weird like cult thing to that. Okay, James is pushing off. We can push off now.
Yeah. It was amazing. And I had to stand a certain way in the pool or I would immediately cramp up. And so I had to be very particular with where I stood, how I pushed off of each wall. And it just so happened we were on the far south lane and all the other lanes were to the north of us. And it just so happened I had to stand facing south. So I never saw any of this type of activity because I always had to have my back to everybody else that was there. So,
well, he wasn't the first swimmer. So the first swimmer is kind of on, you know, the right side.
Because I had two pacers.
He's waiting here to get his turn to go to the other lane to head. So he wasn't even in position to face everybody
and
to
then
his
I
left.
saw some of the coolest footage I'd ever seen. It was a drone, and it was on day 100 when all lanes were filled, and I'd push off, and all of a sudden all lanes would start to move. And it was this like giant snake. And then when I'd stop, everyone would come in and stop. And then we'd get going again. It was just this really cool.
And he says that, and I'm like, I saw that every day. You didn't see that?
Yeah. And I never saw it until once you start to break something down and look back on it, you start to see footage and stuff. Because when you're in the middle of it, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Sonny's Closet Talks. Have you seen these? And I'm like, no,
you're riding your bike.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Like, Sonny's Closet Talk was epic today. And I'm like, okay.
He's like, what is a closet
What's
talk?
a closet talk? And they're like, the Wingman, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And it was all these things that became normal to everybody else that I had no idea was happening.
Right.
Because like the Wingman breakdown happened when I was getting therapy. The closet talk happened when I was...
Wingman wrap up.
There it is. Wingman wrap up.
Yes.
So all these things would happen that I had no idea. So when I saw that really cool footage of that snake that you were talking about and that everybody would push off the same time as me, I was like, that's really cool.
We'll be back in a sec, but first, if you dig this podcast, and I hope you dig this podcast, then I think you'll really enjoy my latest book, Voicing Change, featuring excerpts from, poignant essays by, and glorious photography of some 50 of my favorite guests over the last 8+ years of doing this thing, this podcast. It's a gorgeous, artful compendium of the show and copious wisdom shared therein, all wrapped in a hardcover coffee table form that provides a great taste of what we do here at the RRP and serves as a beautiful keepsake or gift for the ardent fan. The book is only and exclusively available on our website. Signed copies are available, and we are shipping globally direct to any coffee table on planet Earth. So to learn more and snag your copy today, visit richroll.com/VC. That's richroll.com/VC. All right, let's get back into it. What day was the bike wreck on?
59.
59.
Yep.
That could have toppled the whole thing.
Well, here was a very interesting part about that wreck. One, it was very violent. It was the hardest I've ever crashed. I believe I got knocked out.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
It was that bad. And I think that's part of the, I got a concussion that day for sure. And what was interesting was the decision I had to make, because I had reset my history. We were at 59 and I had done everything that I'd set out to do. And that was one of those things, like your leg snapping and a bike crash, something catastrophic, where the public goes, yeah, that makes sense. You couldn't continue. We get it. And so that was one of those moments where I like had to really gut check and be like, oh, okay, you did enough that it's acceptable. You've made it past those personal benchmarks that you wanted. You've kind of reset history. Now you have a decision to make. Now it's a matter of doing 100 because you said you were going to do 100 and keep going. And the moment I remember laying there on the ground, and I came back to really quick, and they asked me that, I could hear that my eyes were still closed, and I could hear them saying, they were on the phone calling the ambulance. And I was like, crap, it's over. Because I couldn't, when you crash, you've got so much adrenaline dump. And I was like, okay, they're calling an ambulance. Maybe I can't see. Maybe my leg's sticking out sideways or something. But then I realized it was for the other person in the crash. And it was way worse.
So there's a woman ahead of you, something got caught in her spokes or something.
Yeah, and it was like she ran into a brick wall, and she went straight over her bars, and her face was the first thing to hit the ground.
Aaron says, I look to the left, and all I see is a bike flying through the air. And he's like, oh my gosh, that bike's going to land, and just hit.
And I was the person right behind her. And so I hit her as she was in air, because it slowed her down, stopped her. But her face was literally the first thing to hit the ground. She was definitely knocked out and needed ambulance and medical attention. And as they were saying, calling the medical, I was like, oh crap, this whole thing's over. And I reached up and I felt my collarbones, and I'm like, oh, they're not broken.
Right, that's the first thing.
And then they asked me a couple quick questions, and I answered them right away, and I'm like, I'm okay. And then I was like, yes, I crashed and I'm okay. And we're going to be able to continue, because that just adds to the story, right? And then we made sure that she was okay. The ambulance was on her way, and most of the cyclists stayed with her. I went and I talked to her, and she was like, please don't wait for me. Go. I'm safe. I'm okay. And she was super kind. And me and 3 other cyclists.
Imagine how bad she felt.
Yeah.
Me and 3 other cyclists
finished
that bike ride and then continued on.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, decisions or moments in the entire journey where it's like, okay, this is a pivotal decision. And I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, okay, I need to weigh what public opinion is going to be on this decision. Because during the 50, we made a lot of decisions and didn't care what public opinion was, because we were on our own journey. We were figuring it out. Nobody had done this before. But this one I did care, because I wanted to get through this with a clean slate as far as public opinion is concerned. And so kind of those big decisions I made, I was like, okay, I'm conscious of what the public is going to do with this. And so I was like, no, we're going to continue. I'm capable. And that became part of my decision process every single day, was like, okay, am I capable of continuing, or is this a good enough of excuse to quit? Like, I'd wake up in the morning and I was always amazed. I'm like, man, Hayden is a genius. Like, that guy put me together every single night. I'd wake up and I'd be like, crap, I can get in the water. Like, I don't have a good enough of a reason to not start today. And then I'd start biking and I'm like, no, I just don't have a good enough reason. And then I'd get on the run and I'd be walking and I'm like, well, my leg hasn't broken yet. And this really sucks. And I'm managing the pain, but this isn't a good enough reason. And that became my decision process every single day. Is this a good enough of a reason to quit? Will the public buy off on this? No. Okay, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Funny story with that bike real quick is that when he got up and rode off, everybody's like, I guess he's good. Like, that happened a lot faster than he remembers. That he crashed, he assessed, he checked on her, and he was gone. And all the other cyclists were like, whoa, where's James? He's off, he's gone. So he made that decision that quickly.
What day was it when you made the little video before you got in the pool and you were tearing up and you're like,
80.
I'm just going to try today? Like,
80.
You look like you were, I don't know if that was the nadir of the whole thing, but if there was a breaking moment, that looked like one.
It was. And it was so interesting because I had never gone live before that moment. I didn't go live after that, before the swim. And I just felt compelled to turn on my phone as I'm walking from the car to the pool. It's probably 200 meters to get to there. And for some reason, I turned on my phone And I was just going to give an update on how I was feeling. And then I just got completely overwhelmed by emotion. And it was this insanely impactful moment for the viewers. And it just like really resonated with people on the journeys that they were on. They really got to see, okay, he is broken. He is really struggling, and he still has 20 more days, and he's not going to quit.
That's almost 3 weeks.
Right.
I mean, 80 to 100 sounds close, but that's almost 3 weeks.
Well, that was also...
That is a long
It's the craziest
time.
thing with perspective. Because
I
if
was
you're
just
like,
gonna
I'm
say
going to
that.
do 20
Yeah.
Ironmans, people would say that's insane. But you're like, well, you've done 80, you only have 20. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And that became so frustrating for me
Right.
because it was like, oh, you're so close. You're right there.
So
right?
he's thinking 3 weeks. The public's thinking only 20 more, right?
You know,
right, that's not help. I mean, it's coming from a good place.
Right.
It's well-intentioned,
Yeah.
but it's actually
It's not helping.
really not what you want to
It's
hear.
not how we process.
Yeah.
And so that was really the peak because, you know, I was going through all the pain. I was processing everything. I know what the family's going through at this point. I know what Sonny's enduring. I know we're struggling as a couple. I know all these things are happening. I know the Wingmans are falling apart. Everybody's really struggling just because it just showcased how long of a journey this was for that type of thing. And again, I don't know why, but I turned on my phone. I was just going to share a few thoughts. And then I had that breakdown moment. And that after that moment, that day's ride became very meaningful. Every single supporter that we had, that like the cyclists that would come out like once or twice a week, they were all, I didn't know this, but they were all on a big text thread together. All the different all the different cycling clubs unified.
That's so special.
They
Isn't
unified
it?
during this time, and they were on a text thread, and a text thread went out immediately. Anybody see that moment? Anybody see that?
Collaborating, make sure there's people there.
They
It's so
all
special.
every single one of them figured out a way to take work off that day. All of them showed up on that one day. And it was super interesting because not a word was said on the bike ride. Everybody just said, it was kind of like just like a memorial type of a ride where they were like, we are here. We're going to get you through today. You don't need to say anything. And tomorrow we'll fight again. And to me, I think that was a big turning point in us getting to the finish. Because for me, where I was sitting, not from the outside looking in, but from my journey where I was sitting, the last 15 were ultra flow state for me. And I knew after that breakdown, and I knew after the community had come out. And when I had 15 to go, I was like, this is in the bag. And I agreed that we're so close, but that's when I became super flow state and just like every moment of every day matters. And then you look at my times over the last 15 days and it was a metronome type of state. Yeah. It was just execution at a high level.
But that was the inflection point. I mean, what is the self-talk or the mantra or the kind of go-to emotionally that you rely upon in those moments where
on
you're
that day
ready
80?
to flip? That
Like when I
day
say
or
I'm
any
gonna
other day,
try?
like when you're up against it
struggle
and
day.
you're backed into a corner and everything inside of you wants to quit, how do you crawl out of that headspace?
You shift your focus to the community. And it becomes, I'm not showing up for me, I'm showing up for the other people. And by that point in the journey, we'd received so many messages of, your journey has impacted me in this way. And then you have the conversation with yourself. What I alluded to earlier, we never know who's watching. You never know who you're impacting. And so you immediately switch the conversation to, if I don't show up today, who am I missing an opportunity to impact? And we'll never know, but who did we impact that didn't see or know of our story prior to day 80, tuned into it, and then we completely changed their paradigm or the way that they look or the way they experience what they're doing because we didn't stop or quit.
Yeah.
And so that becomes the conversation of the mantra. It shifts from you or me to, who are we going to miss an opportunity to impact if we don't show up today? And you quit on day 80 and you don't get to have, in my opinion, the most impactful day, which is 101. That doesn't even exist. It's not even in the narrative. You can't set that example. You can't lead from the front. You can't bring everybody with you to that moment without that conversation and that mindset of like, who who am I missing the opportunity to help today?
I think something that gets missed in this story is the fact that you're able to, execute on this goal by dint of the fact that you have incrementally worked your way up and accumulated knowledge and experience over many years and many challenges. And it's not a situation where I think the instinct in people who hear this, it's so unrelatable. They're like, well, he's a crazy superhuman person and I don't get that. So yeah, maybe he can, throw some platitudes my way, but like, I can't even wrap my head around that. And the truth is very different. Like it's not like you're this, your gift really is that you're able to suffer, but you have, figured out a way to express that through these challenges that get incrementally more and more difficult over the years that allow you to kind of be in the place that you're in now. I didn't say that very articulately, but you know what I'm saying? Like This starts on a Ferris wheel for 10 days. And, it's not like you're out winning triathlons right away or anything like that. Like you have a very different path into this kind of thing.
I think that is the most beautiful or profound lesson that needs to be heard today.
That is looked over.
That you're nobody's the expert at the beginning of their journey. Nobody is. And you have to meet yourself where you're at today and that be the expectation. The hardest thing to do is to start on any journey because that's where the highest amount of struggle is. That's where our experience and our momentum and our success is at its lowest. And a lot of people see the headline, the 100, and think, oh, he's just born to do this kind of thing. And I love saying it now that you can't go from 0 to 100 and miss all of the moments in between. I mean, our journey started with a 4-mile fun run that I struggled through, and Sunny and I got into sprint triathlons together and did that for 4 years before even taking on the scariest thing to us at the time, which was a half Ironman.
I mean, it was 2004, November of 2004 was that 4-mile fun run. That was a long time ago.
Yes and no. Like, given what you've done, it's actually not that long ago.
No.
What we've accomplished in that
like
time.
a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It is. But the important message is that, like, nobody would have said that individual would have gone on to set sports endurance history. And everybody has a beginning, middle, and end to their journey. And we're not even close to our end as far as like what we want to do.
You don't always get to know what the journey is. So like even for us, we're like, well, we don't even know how this actually ends.
Right.
Because we're still
But it's the audacity to start and the courage to, put one foot in front of the other. Yes. And I think a lot of people just get caught up in needing to understand how it's going to unfold, and they get paralyzed and never actually move forward.
Well, and two, that was beautifully said, but two, they're too, and social media, this is the bad part about social media, is they're comparing themselves against what other people are doing or showing that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And they say, I can't do that and I'm not good enough. And that's what stops them from starting. And that's tragic to me because thankfully social media wasn't big when we started, and I didn't have basis of comparison. And people are like, oh, who are your mentors? Who are your mentors and who's this and that? And who do you look up to? And I was like,
I don't know.
I don't know. I
used to say your grandma.
Yeah. Because, there's my grandmother.
An immigrant that started a business
she's
and
the
made a life for
ultimate
herself.
American dream, but that happened in Canada. But I would not compare myself with what the current standard of excellence was, and I would go out and try to do what I believed was possible. And here's the perfect example. At the time when I said I was going to do the 50, the baseline was kind of like the Epic 5, right? And had I looked at that and said, oh, the Epic 5 is the standard of excellence at the time, which it was, I would have said, okay, I'm going to double that standard to do 10. So why did I go all the way to 50? Because for me personally, I wasn't comparing myself about what others were doing and accomplishing. I went out and I set the standard of the bar to what I thought I could do. Mm-hmm. And that's where people get into problems and struggles, is they are now comparing themselves to what they see the top guys doing, and they just get overwhelmed and they don't start. And so there's two sides to that coin, right? Don't don't get sidelined by what you see people are doing, and then don't look at what other people are doing and do what you believe is possible within yourself. So there's two kind of different looks at that.
But also you can be inspired by what other people are doing.
Take it as inspiration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, don't copycat it. Like our society loves to copycat. Where James loved triathlon and loved sports and loved all this stuff, he didn't copy anything that anybody else did. He found his own level of excellence, his own creative idea on how to be successful in the industry. It's fake. It's made up. He made this thing up. You know, what do you mean you're going to do a full distance triathlon in every state? What about Hawaii and Alaska? You know, it's this made up thing. So people should feel empowered to create their own dreams and their own aspirations based on what they see, but not copycat them.
Yeah.
Get creative. Do something different.
I remember. Do you remember? I saw you guys at the airport when you were heading to Hawaii.
Met your wife.
Yeah. And I was
with
like,
a couple.
There they go, man. Like,
listen to me. Your wife was so nice, and I could tell she almost pitied me. Like, these people, I
have no idea.
I don't think so.
No, this is what I felt like. Like, these guys are so nice, and I feel so bad they think they can do 50 full distance triathlons.
It was this energy of they're cute, it's naive.
They're so cute, they're naive.
Because she was coming from...
You make it sound condescending, though.
It wasn't.
No. Because she was coming from the perspective of experience, having...
With your journey.
And whatnot. And she was like, okay, that's... I mean, even...
She
was taking her lead from me, though, because I was like... This guy, like, he's going to do something great. Like, I just don't. And I've said this to you, like, I think he's physically capable of doing this, but the logistics, like, if one thing goes wrong, like, the whole thing craters, and you think you're going to go across 50 states and like, something's not going to go like
it was so kind and it was so supportive. And it was almost like this, oh, you guys, bless your hearts. You think
it's amazing how much our journeys have kind of intertwined over the past
Wasn't
decade.
that so weird to see each other at the airport, though?
I know,
that was
it's
the
crazy.
weirdest thing.
I mean, that's...
On our way to Hawaii to boot.
I know.
Like, on our way out
I know
the door.
exact picture. I'm holding Quinn. He's wearing that green
He's
hat
got the
on.
sunglasses on there, like crooked.
I know.
Yeah.
And then you freaking went out and did it. And I remember coming out, like, it was emotional for me. Like, I don't know if you remember when we did that podcast after you finished, like, I got like choked up because I was so touched by what you guys had done and the manner in which you carried yourself and the way that you chose to express, this incredible thing and the community that you had built. And that was my first experience getting to meet Casey and Aaron. And like, those guys are just, they're unbelievable, those guys. The positivity and the loyalty and just the extent to which those guys like show up for you is a testament to you guys as leaders, because you don't get people like that unless unless you engender that level of kind of like trust and love and respect.
Yeah, they are huge parts of our journey. And what's interesting is I have a different relationship with those two guys, and Sonny has a different relationship with those two guys, and their relationships with each other is different. It's just a very and the way we got to meet those guys was so random, and it was just happen chance that they were the only two guys available that would agree to
do them on the 50.
On the 50. We didn't even know that.
That's the way it works.
It is the way it works, and they have just totally become family. And
Aaron did every one of those bike rides. Every single bike ride, Aaron was out there, did every mile.
He's about to go across Lotoja.
And I got to tell you,
whole focus was James. It was amazing.
Yeah, when I came out on day 91. It was great and all of that, but the highlight of the day was doing the Wingman wrap up in the I was like, now I'm in it, man. I get to be on the Wingman wrap up. Like my day, like this is why I came.
You were the guest to them, not them the guest to you.
They're special boys.
Unbelievable. I remember, when on the day 100 when I came out, you were so in the zone, and like it was clear, like you were trying to really minimize your interactions with other people and just focus on what you were trying to accomplish. But you did say, I was like, because you were walking, and I was like, are you going to break out the run? And you're like, yeah, like I think you said at mile 20, you were going to like let it loose and throw it down, and things didn't actually go to plan.
So we had that conversation on 91.
Yeah. Because and then on day 100, I was like, okay, you're going to, he's like, you said, I'm going to drop the hammer.
Yes, as we were running. Because I on day 100, I was being so patient and allowing my body to recover as much as it could.
I want to run so bad.
We knew there was a 101, but nobody else did.
Yeah.
So then he's like...
Well, because I'm sure we'll get to 101 pretty quick here, but we didn't make the decision to do 101 until that Sunday, the final decision. So 3 days before. And when I had talked to you
you
on
had the shirts made up and everything
in 48 hours.
Oh, you did? Wow.
And they were hand delivered. Yeah, it's crazy. And people think it was planned because we had the jersey, but that was a...
Everybody's like, how'd you get the jersey? We're like, we don't know.
We don't know.
Wow.
It literally hand delivered in 2 days. But when we had that conversation on day 21, on day 91, I was being super patient. My shin was healing. I didn't have any pain. I was on the other side of the hip. I was just like, I am going to run that last day. And right from the go, I started to run, and I was so excited. But I knew things started to go south because I had already, obviously asked so much from my body and my mind. We're at the very tail end of a quarter of a year, had done something nobody thought was physically possible. And I had just really nursed my body back to health in the midst of so much trauma and so much stress. And I made it all the way to 19, Rich. I made it to mile 19 running. And then, like you said, if things went sideways in the beginning of the campaign, they went sideways on day 100 at day 19. And I don't remember a lot of it because I had to check out. And I just remember the wingmen were there and Felicia was there.
Our 110-pound friend.
Yeah, and I just remember I'd manage it, and then my legs just I had asked everything out of them, and they would give out on me, and it get that collapse moments that I had gave me the 30 seconds to recoup, and mentally we had a mantra, and it was here we go. And when you said here we go, we start moving again. And I remember we were on the last out and back, headed out to 8th North, and we probably had 3 miles to go. It was after 19. I'd fallen apart. I had lost my goal to run the whole thing. And because my legs kept giving out on me. And we were probably mile 22 or 23. And I lost it again, and Felicia caught me. And right before I went down, I was looking at my watch, and I said, how fast are we running? And she's like, we're running at 9:30. And then my legs gave out, and I collapsed again. And then I got back up, and I said, I can do better than this. And her jaw dropped, because she's like, you're on day 100 of 100 consecutive Ironmans. You have given everything you got, and you've given everything you've had. And your mindset right now is, I can do better than this. And that's truly where my mind was, because you want to go out kind of with a bang, like we did on the 50. And I had been dreaming of it for a long time on that run, and being so patient, allowing my body. And I've obviously asked a lot for my body. But it was kind of that moment where, like, it was a proud moment for me, because I was at the end, but my mind was still there from my perspective. And I knew I could, even in that moment, I knew I could do or be more.
For people that don't know, you, in the final miles, you were literally collapsing. You were passing out, and people had to catch you. Did you ever fall all the way down to the pavement?
I didn't. It's crazy, because I've seen pictures now.
It was bad.
It was bad. And I've seen pictures now where, like, Casey and Aaron are like right there. Any stumble or anything that I do, they are right there anticipating it. And I wouldn't have made it that last day without them, just because of the pace that we're pushing. We'd done 5 hours on the bike course, which is moving.
Yeah.
And so I'd asked a lot from my body just on that bike ride, knowing it was the last day, but also knowing we didn't want to let on that we were going to do 101.
Yeah.
And I had been telling people on social media the whole time, I'm going to run 100.
Yeah.
Brace yourself. If you plan to join me that day, we're moving. We're going to go sub, 12, 11. And then, things fell apart. But at the back of my mind, I said, okay, I can't allude to the fact that I got to get up and do this again tomorrow. So even after I broke myself and drove myself into the ground, I had to figure out a way to do it one more time.
We had to fake celebrate.
Yeah. I knew about it. You told me about it. Yeah. Adam knew about it. I remember
there was like 6 people that knew about it.
Because Adam would have known.
I went down, Adam and I went down to the finish line, and we were kind of helping set up and all of that. And then Adam got word from Lucy, I think, like, oh, James is really struggling. He's a couple miles out. And then we jogged up to like join the group. So I was there. I saw like maybe the last mile and a half of that. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't think he's so close, and it just might not happen.
And you're like, he's got to do 101 tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm like, forget about that. Like, let's just get him, into the track, of the high school. And then, running around the track, like you came back to life and you started actually running pretty fast there at the end. I just couldn't believe
we went under
you were
6:30.
literally falling down. You couldn't figure out how to put your foot on the ground without tripping.
It's just so crazy, the power of the mind. And when you're so close to something and the ability to turn it off, like Casey and Aaron were having a hard time keeping up on that last lap because they had done the full thing.
It was also really hot.
And neither of them were trained for a full distance triathlon. And Aaron had biked all of those days.
And so
Aaron's like, Aaron said
one more half lap and I would have fallen over.
He's like,
and I just kept praying the entire time I was picking up that pace over the last 2 laps. I was just like, don't fall on your face in front of everybody. Don't. Even though I've been doing it for 6 miles prior to this, but I'm like, you're in the grandstand now. And every step I took, I couldn't believe it. I didn't fall over. And I just like kept just saying, stay on your feet, stay on your feet, stay on your feet.
How cool is that flag that you ran under?
It was really cool.
It was very cool.
It was a cool
and then
moment.
20 minutes later, you're up giving a speech looking fresh as a dazy. It's like great.
Standing for like 45 minutes. I'm like, get the man a chair.
Yeah.
Well, and then I did pictures for 2 or 3 hours.
You guys were there for a long time.
Pretending that there was no
2 or 3 hours, knowing I'm like, okay, I got to get home. I got to get on the therapy table.
So
I've got one more day.
8:30, and you had left about 15 or 20 minutes before that.
Yeah.
So you were out there by about 8:10.
The 101 just being like the core group, like just close friends.
Well, and that was even special too, because I was planning on just me, Aaron, and Casey kind of doing it. We didn't know, we had celebrated, and people probably wanted their rest too from the whole thing. And Lucy went live every single day on the swim, and
Sunny did.
Oh yeah, sorry, Sunny did. Lucy would push the button.
Your partners.
Lucy would push the button.
Yes.
And we wanted that moment to where it was just me in the pool, and that's why we didn't tell anybody. And I started that swim by myself, and the chat boards and text threads kind of lit up immediately. Which is
exactly what we wanted. The element of surprise.
We wanted that conversation.
The dissonance of like, wait a second, he's swimming. Is this a recovery swim? What's happening?
I imagine people thought, oh, he can't sleep, and he's going to kind of give a breakdown of what happened.
Right.
And
this
then
poor guy doesn't know what to do with himself. So
exactly.
He might go do it again.
And then, by the time I finished the swim and got out of the water, the cyclists had
there were 12 cyclists
got together and then started meeting us on the road. And then we did an undisclosed run location because we wanted it to be kind of friends and family and core. The day 100 was so chaotic. It's the opposite of my personality. It was so stressful. We had hundreds of riders out there, and last thing you want to do is crash at high speeds on the last day when you're that close. And so it was a super stressful bike ride for me. And then obviously the excitement and the emotion and the stress from that run. And so I wanted to kind of go out on my terms. And the feeling on that day was so different because we'd accomplished the goal. We did it.
Yeah.
We did it. And so that like the biggest of exhales happened. And then it was just this fun, chatty core group of cyclists and runners that we got to experience and kind of go out on our terms. And it was a magical day because you knew you'd finish. There's no timeline. There's no expectations. It's the ultimate victory lap with your closest team and supporters from the past however long.
But it also sends a very loud and clear message that when you've accomplished your goal and done the thing you didn't think that you could do, you can actually do more.
Yeah.
And it just was made undeniable. By
I would always get so frustrated speaking and someone would always ask after the 50, could you have done one more? And I was like, they are not going to ask me if I can do one more after this 100. And like we mentioned earlier, it was not part of the game plan. The week before we started to put it into play, and Zoka Cycling Clothing, we called her up and we said, hey, we have this idea. We know it's in 3 days. Any chance? And she's like, send me the logo. And she was her and her team was planning to drive and be at the finish line. And they handed that 101 jersey to Lucy at the finish line after. And I put it on the first time that following morning and came out in that 101 jersey. And so that was one of those little things that looked like we had it planned, but it came together so fast, and everyone was willing to do their part to make that day happen.
So you've had some time now to reflect on all of this, perhaps get a little bit of an objective perspective on what it was all about. So, what is it like? What does it mean to you? Like, what is this all about? And has that kind of changed or evolved?
I don't think we know. So James thought, well, I need to take some time off afterwards, which just led him into depression and, misdirection in his life. And he's just barely now picking back up. He said, the middle of August, end of August is when I kind of picked back up. But I don't think we really know. I mean, my recovery didn't start till 2 weeks ago because it's, I had to care for James post, and then we have summer and all of the things we have going on. And so it wasn't until the kids went back to school that I finally exhaled. So I don't even think we've actually had the time to reflect yet, because the summer, even though it was it was very relaxing for James, but not for, me and Lucy, for instance, or the other kids.
This is your time.
Yeah.
You get to do what you want to do now, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally catching my breath. Nothing has been routine since December for me until, just
well, and here's the way any project happens is there's a preparation, there's an execution, and there's a post, which is, in our case, it's recovery. And that recovery still was intense for Sunny and caring for me and me going through those struggles and going out of it. And so this has kind of been like this trip. It kind of like, okay, kids are back to school full time. Kids are in their routine. And this trip has kind of been like, oh, this is kind of the first time where both of us have been like almost stress-free and relaxed, and to where we're starting to reflect. And so this actual talk has been kind of the start of what that, on the other side of that process.
It's the first time that I've really actually thought about it, to be honest, because even the last 2 weeks I've been doing all the tasks that I've been putting off since last December, like organizing the pantry and getting shelves hung in the garage. So I mean, I think this is the first time that I've really actually reflected on it, other than reflecting every day. I kept a journal every day and then did my closet talk every day. So I had every day I was writing things down, but I mean, there's some PTSD that still has to be worked through that I don't think either of us has really processed it yet. And we don't really know what's going to happen because we still don't know. Nothing, we made everything wait till August to happen. And now it's just barely August. So it's like, I don't think we really know. I mean, I can't speak for James, but for me.
Well, for me, Sunny and I have always been on the same path, but different perspectives and different journey because our roles are very different. And my role now quickly goes back into provider, and to where I'm, speaking full time again. And we're planning on writing the second book, and I'm working with the film documentary crew to produce the second documentary, and different opportunities show up in my email every day. And I get, so I'm back into that world of, business and trying to monetize what we did and trying to help as many people as we can and relaunch our coaching platform.
I mean, rewriting your presentation.
Yeah, rewriting that whole thing and
rewrite that keynote.
Getting the messaging
changed a little
back, in it that we want. And we learn lessons and we evolve too on these journeys, and we want to share those and teach those lessons too. I mean, I think if someone gives the same keynote for 20 years, they're not evolving as a person either. And if you listen to my keynote over the past 5 or 6 years, it's the same story, but the lessons change, and where I put emphasis changes on them because I'm evolving as a person. And so, what's next for me is very different than kind of what's next for Sunny. Outside of our family goals and raising our kids. But Sunny is loving doing podcasts and getting into speaking. It's actually what she wants to do, and empowering people. And
we get contacted all the time.
And you and I had conversations recently, Rich, where Sunny's the unsung hero of this journey. And people, every time I speak, people are like, who's your wife? And can we meet her? And she's an absolute...
You have to wake up and just do one thing every day.
Exactly.
She's got to do 1,000 things
and so
keep her eye on, so many moving pieces.
I know Sunny more than most, and she's expressed many times how now is not the time, but now is the time to prepare for when she gets to tell her story and be on stage and do that. And so she's got some exciting opportunities coming up, and she's doing some speaking and prep work. And her entire focus forever has been, and still is, the kids. And what an unbelievable responsibility that is, and the amount of work and the attention to detail and time that she puts into each one of our kids is remarkable.
Well, your kids are great. Like, I love your
They're
kids.
so awesome.
And
They're born that way. I
don't know about that.
Me neither.
Yeah.
It's a true testament to how much time and care and love and thought that Sunny puts into it. But her time is coming, and that, from my perspective, that's what's coming for her. She's just preparing,
kindling,
doing little things now that'll prepare her for her true passion. And her true passion is teaching people and speaking and talking. And mine is like disappearing into the mountains on my bike. And so
I'm waiting for that.
I'm waiting for that day that we transition out of that.
If you have a chance to see James do his talk, like what was that, like 3 years ago when you were out here and you did it? Yeah. Like, it's very good. Like, you're very good at that.
Oh, thank you.
And I can't imagine how much it's evolved since I saw it. So, if you have an opportunity to attend an event and to hear James share his story, it's something you should definitely check out.
Oh, thank you.
And I look forward to Sunny's version. Right?
So exciting. Maybe a little more girly. I don't know.
I know. But part of that talk and what you're all about is this subject of mental toughness. And I'm sure people say to you all the time, like, how do you develop mental toughness? Where does your mental toughness come from? Like, what is that about? How can I be more mentally tough in my own life?
The number one question.
Verbatim.
Yeah. And I had to think about it a lot because I didn't know how to answer it. Because, if I could write out that formula for someone, dude, my financial situation is completely different. But the reality is just through discussion and presenting and really having the opportunity to be and speak in 48 different countries and just all the different walks of life and different cultures, the number one thing is mental toughness. And I've just realized it's only through taking action. It's only through like getting backed into that corner and then having the courage to take that next step, saying, my leg might snap, but I am willing to take that next step. And you cannot learn it by reading it. You cannot learn it by hearing somebody. Those are all great like sparks or motivation pieces to get you going on your journey. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you've got to show up. You've got to participate. You have to learn. And you can't go from 0 to 100. And I couldn't have done what I did mentally without learning and struggling and developing and sharpening that thing. The big question topic, are you born with it or can you develop it?
Nature versus nurture, the eternal debate, right?
And my answer, just based on my personal experience, is it's nurture. You have to develop it. You have to work on it. Now, we're all born with a different baseline. Jace would be a great example. He obviously has a different starting baseline for mental toughness than some other people do. Now, if
you're the kid who was on the Ferris wheel for 10 days to win a prize.
Right, exactly.
So your baseline is probably
a little bit different.
Like, how old are you for that?
21, 22.
Yeah.
But I took that knowledge from that experience and then I've really showed up in my life and sharpened it. Jace has an incredible opportunity to be something very special in that mindset space. And I come across, you can pick out, okay, baseline's higher, develop that talent. But everybody can develop it, because I'm a great example of this is a mental journey. I'm not the most physically gifted. Now you have to, the other big question is like, how much is physical and how much is mental for what we do or the journey that we're on? And my answer has changed over the years. And you hear a lot of people have different opinions. It's like 70% mental and it's 100% physical and it's 100% mental. You cannot do what I did if I'm very strong mentally and I'm a 300-pound man.
Mhm.
You can't, mentally, you cannot drag your body through that experience. And if you're extremely physical but have a weak mind, I've seen so many athletes that are way more talented than I am fail because they don't have the mental component of it. And so you straight up have to be 100% on both of them in order to accomplish something like that, or the journey, or push your boundaries or your limits, right? It's a combination.
Mhm.
You cannot rely solely on one or the other and allow that to get you through. You have to be so strong at both of them, or it just doesn't work.
Yeah. It's really a habit or a muscle, this idea of reflexively putting yourself into positions where you're going to be tested mentally, emotionally, physically, in all of these ways. And we're in a culture right now where it's kind of easy to opt out of that type of situation. So you have to almost have a little bit of extra gumption to like seek it out and put yourself in that situation.
Sunny always says, and she is not lying when she says it, she says, if I have two paths in front of me, I'm going to intentionally pick the harder one because I want it to hurt. I want to struggle. I want to learn. I want to grow. And that's exact opposite of what most people are doing today. They see two things and go, that's the easy route. I'm going to take that way. And that individual, sadly,
it's very unfulfilling.
Yeah, it's unfulfilling.
You
They're
think
not
it's
going to grow.
Be, like you're deluded into thinking that the happy life is the easy life, but the happy life, the fulfilled life, the purpose-driven life is the life that invites those sort of difficult situations into your experience.
When they're depressed and they have anxiety and all those things, I'm like, I'm sure you do. Because you're just taking that easy mountain bike path. It's just soft dirt, and all you do is, there's no challenge. There's no reason to develop any character, but they're choosing that, right? So it's like, well, I'm sure you feel depressed, like you're accomplishing nothing hard. So that's definitely what our culture and our society today encourages.
Yeah.
One of the
easy path.
One of the biggest things you learn by taking the harder path is problem solving. And that's what our team and Sunny has become experts at is problem solving. That's all we do. We've become master problem solvers, and we've learned how to problem solve in the face of adversity. And when you take that path of least resistance, there's very limited opportunities or necessity to problem solve. And so you don't learn that skill set. And life is about managing adversity and learning how to problem solve at a high level.
Under stressful circumstances.
Under stressful circumstances.
Yeah,
And that's
the
what our
threshold for you being overwhelmed is probably really high.
Oh,
right? Nothing's a big deal.
No, I'll just figure it out. Just figure it out. And I mean, that was the whole journey of the 100 was adaptation. Nothing was ever the same. Every day, the mood, the injury, the fatigue of the crew or of James, the food he wanted, the people that were showing up, the weather. I mean, every day was adaptation. And, I remember being late in the journey going, man, we're 90 days in and nothing's ever the same. You grocery shop for the week and James doesn't want anything you buy.
Right.
Or, and it's literally minute to minute to minute. So, I don't have a lot of tolerance for people who say, it's just hard. I don't have the resources. I can't figure it out. And I'm like, dude, you just figure it out. That's life. You just figure out. Nobody has the instruction manual. Nobody knows what they're doing. You just figure it out. And a lot of times you don't have the time to figure it out. You have 10 seconds to figure out a solution right here, right now. I mean,
and that was the premise of the 100 was remove the chaos, put in normality, put in consistency.
The great illusion, remove the chaos.
Good luck with that. Right?
One of those things that we thought we were going to be able to control, and ultimately
it was exactly the same.
It became just as
different.
chaotic as the 50, but for twice as long.
Exactly the same, but different.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just as chaotic, just as
in
necessary to solve problems, just as dramatic, just different. It was unbelievably exactly the same.
Yeah.
As far as emotions.
What's a story that hasn't been told, like a behind the scenes? Like, what do people not get or not understand about how this whole thing unfolded?
From both perspectives, James, what's yours?
I think, man, that's a great question. I've never been asked that before.
You're a winner because he gets asked a lot of the same questions.
I do this for a living.
Yeah, this is
good.
my job.
Yeah, but most people ask the same questions. You got him.
Gosh, I will say this: few people will ever understand what it takes and what the four of us went through, even if you've read every book, seen every interview.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it had to put a strain on your marriage.
No.
Well,
I may be his.
no.
And I'm like, he's like, well, I don't know. Actually, I was out there riding my bike.
No.
Even I didn't know.
I think Sunny's actually super mature, and one of the biggest sighs of relief for me when she says, I just gave you a 100-day pass on anything you said and anything you did. And I'm like, no other woman on the planet does that. But just her level of understanding of, okay, look, this isn't my husband. There's an imbalance. There's a hormonal thing going on. There's a stress thing going on. This is totally situational. And thankfully I did get a 100 day pass.
I don't think people realize that it was literally second to second. I mean, it wasn't, and I don't know if that was everybody's experience, but that was certainly mine. It was, I mean, from the second I got up until I was climbing into bed, knowing I was only getting 2 hours of sleep, every second was high intensity and demanding.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no refuge. So that, I think about people in their own struggles, and there's a lot of times that you're like, okay, I'm gonna go in my closet and take 5 breaths. Like that didn't exist for me because I had my family, I had the crew, I had James, the film crew, James, I had our working crew, I had the volunteer church stuff I was doing in the community. My parents live in my basement. You know, we have 2 dogs. I mean, there was literally, and my kids. A lot
of people whose needs need to be met, who are looking to you to meet those needs. And not
my
a
kids
lot of
are
time
great.
For Sunny to meet Sunny's needs.
Which I knew was only temporary. So it was okay.
But 100 days is
a long time.
A long temporary phase.
Yep. And it took me about 2 years to recover from the 50. And so I promised myself this time along the way, I would do things to prevent needing that much time to recover. And so that's why now I'm like, there's definitely still some PTSD that I have to process that I just haven't had the chance to yet. And I've just started that. So I definitely feel better than coming off the 50, but it was intense.
Yeah.
Every second.
Yeah.
Every second.
It's kind of like an extrapolated version of when somebody goes into crew, like an ultra race, and they've never crewed before, and they think they're just going to be in a van listening to music, and it's going to be super cool and chill.
When you run by, they hand you a drink.
And then they're like, wait, like they're doing stuff all the, like, but that's times 1,000 for 100 days straight.
Yeah.
I think the stories that haven't been told yet are the stories that we don't know yet of the people we've impacted. I think that's the biggest thing.
They're yet to come.
That are yet to come. And those are obviously the most meaningful stories. Sure. And a lot of them we won't ever get to hear.
Yeah. Back on the mental toughness piece, you had mentioned something that's a little bit tangential to it, which is this idea of showing up, right? The idea of being consistent and how that plays into long-term success. And the truth being that, you know, it's not sexy and it's not like something that like trends in social media. It's like that stuff that you do every single day, no matter what, that moves the needle forward ever so slightly, that puts you in the position to be able to do great things and achieve your dreams.
I got to have a really cool experience. I was I've had the opportunity to speak to some NFL teams, and I was on the field for a warm up for one of the games, and one of the coaches was there talking to me, and the quarterback was throwing the ball to a couple different receivers, and he said, "Watch this," and he threw the ball, and the receiver caught it and immediately tucked it. And then dropped the ball, caught the next one, and immediately tucked it. And then he started throwing the ball to a newer member of the team, more of a rookie, and he would catch it and drop it, catch it and drop it. And he said, he's not going to make it in this league. And the reason he's a successful veteran is because he's still doing the small things and working on the fundamentals that you would think they would take for granted of or not put much attention to it. But the fact that he would catch it and still tuck it like it was in a game situation where he was protecting it, even in I'm just tossing a ball to you, right? That type of thing. The coaches watch that kind of stuff, and it's that level of consistency. It's that level of showing up. It's that level of doing the small things over a long period of time that people aren't willing to do that separates that guy who makes it and that
Yeah.
guy who ultimately will get cut.
Yeah. It's so true. How does it work with balance? I'm sure you get that question a lot too.
He does get that one a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your life's totally out of balance, dude.
no, it's not.
Well, you're a guy with, you have 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you get that question a lot too.
I
right?
do. My answer evolves, but I have kind of a response to that, but I'm interested in how you guys think
my answer
about that.
has evolved too. And now that I have 4 teenage girls,
So fun.
it is fun. But this is the example that I use. My 13-year-old daughter doesn't want to, if 25% of my time. If I'm like, because people like assume, oh, family
You're lucky
life
if you
balance.
get 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, and people assume, okay, let's break life into work, play, family, and if balance equals 33, 33, 33, then you've got to give that amount of time to each one of those, and that's the best example. Is my daughter doesn't want 33% of my time, like that's absurd. What she does want is, when I am giving her my time, she wants all of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants me to be right there, attentive, listening to the story that I don't necessarily all the details care about. But as we've got one daughter who, Sonny will say, how was your day? And literally from when she woke up
and then I did this and then this. And it's like,
Oh, the whole time. I would kill for that. I get a lot of fine. And
yeah, we have one of those too. How's your day? Fine. Anything happen?
Yeah.
No.
But family life and work balance doesn't mean an equal percentage. It means whatever you're doing, give that balance to it. And the 100's a perfect example. Totally out of balance. But that imbalance is temporary. And the sacrifices were discussed with the family.
Everybody was committed to
Everybody was committing to go, okay,
kids.
life's going to be completely out of balance for a while, and it will shift back to imbalance. And to break through barriers and to reach certain levels and whatnot, there has to be some. Nobody that navigates this life successfully has a perfect balance at all times. Now, what you have to be careful of is going completely out of balance for a really long period of time. Now you're jeopardizing and creating problems. What's your thoughts on balance?
I think that balance is ebb and flow. Yeah. It's like a marriage is never 50-50. Sometimes it's 60-40, sometimes it's 70-30, depending on which partner needs more attention at the time. I think life is like that, Sometimes you don't need downtime, you need uptime. You don't need to rest, you need to be more exhilarated and have more passion. So I think the appropriate thing with balance is gauging where you're at personally, where your family's at, what your goals are, what the demands are, and doing so accordingly. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, it evolves, right? It changes over time.
If you're writing a book, your time balance is going to be different than when the book's complete and you're marketing the book.
Right.
Now your time and attention is going to go somewhere else, but it's the same project. You're trying to accomplish the same goal, but it has to sacrifice differently to get to the end of that project.
Or even your activity level. You're like, I'm going to be sitting a lot more in the day.
Yeah.
Than if I'm working in my garden.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing. I think I think culture dictates this idea that we should be aspiring to live our life in this super balanced way every single day, and that our time and attention is equally apportioned, throughout the hours of the day, so that everybody's taken care of and you're taking care of yourself. And it sets people up for failure and for guilt. We beat ourselves up because we're not adhering to that kind of norm. And that norm is an illusion. I don't think anybody adheres to that norm successfully. And on top of that, if you want to do something amazing, your life is going to have to look unlike other people's lives. That's just the truth. Nobody achieves something great with some perfectly balanced life. You have to be temporarily out of balance so that something gets an extraordinary amount of time, attention, and focus.
It's your peaking period, right? You're peaking.
I think of it as a pendulum, and that pendulum has to swing back. You have to make sure that the important buckets in your life are being attended to, so that you don't capsize completely, but you have to be in a situation where you can kind of vacillate in and out of these things. And that's okay, as long as it always kind of tips back in the right direction.
Yeah, beautifully said.
And don't you think that people know when their life is out of balance?
Sure.
Because either you're sad, or you're too tired, or you're this or that. and then you assess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, our bodies are amazing too. They give us signals.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more, I like to think of it more in terms of attention, like where are you placing your attention? And is that the right place to be placing your attention? And when you're placing your attention on that thing, are you giving it all that you have? And you can pull out of it and then rejigger and focus it somewhere else, but being present for what you're doing. And I think, a big piece of like the lesson that I extract, one of the lessons I extract from the 100 is this mindfulness piece, like this idea of being totally present with what you're doing. Like you can't, it's too overwhelming, right? The only way that you got through it is by being exactly where your feet were, every second of every mile of every day.
Yeah. As soon as I looked too far ahead, it was catastrophic.
Uh-huh.
Well, and you couldn't have balance. He had one job.
Yeah.
Swim, bike, and run. That was it. If he tried to implement anything else, like you said, he couldn't have accomplished it. It couldn't have happened, right? So yeah, that was out of balance, but the appropriate thing to do is to immediately, balance out your time, efforts, and energies as soon as that project is done. And I think that's where people struggle.
Yeah.
I think they try to continue what they're doing. They don't recover after a race. They just continue their training.
Right.
But I think you articulated that beautifully.
So here's a great example of I sacrificed a lot of family time during those 100 years.
100 years. That's what
years,
it felt like.
Get the MRI on that guy.
Immediately, 100 days. But what did that sacrifice, like at what level did that sacrifice now bless my
Create
families
more family time.
and create more family time because of that sacrifice? And so imbalance for a quarter of a year or for a time period, but that sacrifice in turn will create an opportunity for me to be more. It's a leverage point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, here's one for you, and I'm wondering whether you relate to this. Myself being someone who like appreciates suffering, and I feel like I have a capacity for that as well. What happens with me is I equate maybe not success, but whether I've given my all to something is calibrated in lockstep with how much I've suffered. So whether it's a book or writing a speech or preparing for a pod, whatever it is, it's like, if I haven't suffered, like I didn't work hard enough on it. Like I could work harder on it. Like I could really go down the rabbit hole on this, I have to really like feel it, in order to feel like I did a good job. And things outside of endurance sports don't necessarily work that way, right? So the challenge that, like one of the things I'm trying to learn right now is, can I hold these things a little bit more lightly and be more in the allowing rather than in the kind of self-will forcing of it? Because that's my instinct, right? And that instinct doesn't always drive the best result in areas that are outside of like endurance sports.
Yeah, I battle with that too. Like if it, back to taking the path of, least resistance or the hard road, sometimes when you accomplish something, if it wasn't hard, if it was easy, you get the feeling, I could have done better, or that project's not what it should have been. But sometimes it just is easy and it's okay. And I think that's what you're saying you're trying to learn is like, it's okay to not have to suffer through something and still be an excellent piece or
sometimes
product.
It's better if you get out of the way and just allow it to express itself in a more kind of like organic, natural way than to try to force it.
Yeah, everything doesn't have to be hard or a struggle. It doesn't have to be.
That's the thing, right?
Yes. I think people hear some of the times when we say that as like, oh, okay, I have to struggle. It has to be hard. I have to face adversity in order to learn. No, that's just where learning is at its peak. But you can still do things and accomplish things, and it'd be easy, and it's a breeze, and it's fun, and it's enjoyable, and and so there's obviously definitely two sides of that coin, and I'm learning. I have to learn that as well too.
It's kind of a hard lesson because it just cuts across like my instinct.
Yeah, we're cut from that same mold.
Are any of your kids into this stuff? Like are
suffering or
no? Just like the multi-sport thing, or are they just on their own trip?
They're on their own trip, and that's one of the things that one of the biggest goals I set out as a parent was I am not going to force my passions, my dreams on my kids. I'm going to allow them to be on their own journey, and I'm going to help create opportunities for them. But ultimately, I want them to follow their passions, and I would say Quinn And
as of the last 6 months.
no, I'd say Quinn and Daisy have a great baseline for suffering.
Yeah, but Quinn only as of the last 6 months. Like
Right.
he's just wanted to be a little kid.
But he
He's
showed
got like a YouTube channel now, though,
Now,
right?
yeah. Sheepdog
Shout it out.
776, man.
Sheepdog 776.
Sheepdog
Yeah.
776.
Yeah.
What does he do on his channel?
Parkour, trampoline.
He's learning how to
He's
do
doing
flips.
backflips all over the time.
But the
He
cool
is a
thing is
flipper.
that so this is in conjunction with James is saying, Quinn has found this passion and he is continuing to grow in this passion. So he is continuing to learn new sports. He's moving to parkour on the ground and he's doing some Ninja Warrior stuff. But here's what else is cool. He's filming it. He's editing it.
Mm-hmm.
He's posting it.
He enjoys that part of it.
And it's so cool to see. So for his birthday, we got him a tripod because he has friends that he gets to hold his camera for him. And it's been really neat to see him not only do what the sport he loves, but to continue to learn and grow in different, parts of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really neat to see him grow into that because before he's like, I just want to wear Spider-Man costumes and dress up, right? Where now he's finally showing some passion for athletics. And he's played lacrosse for years, but it was because his cousin played. And so he wanted to hang out with his cousin. But now he's starting to show a little bit. And then our daughter, Daisy, that James mentioned, she's our third daughter. She just turned 15. She is the most easygoing. She's just like James. She's like, I don't care if it's messy. I don't care if it's clean. I don't care if my homework is good grades, bad grades. I don't care. But the second she sets her mind to something, she is unstoppable. And it is a force to be reckoned with. The trick is finding the right thing. So she, coasts through life doing things her way. And then every once in a while she finds something and she just dives into it. So that's really cool because that's a lot how James is. James is so easygoing. He's just go with the flow. He has a play mentality. And he's just like yellow personality.
I'm a
love and
procrastinator at heart.
like he really is. But then when he finds that thing and he turns it on, he turns it on. I mean, and Lucy's just like hardcore all the time. Lily, she just wants to play and have fun. And then she realizes being organized is better for her. And then Dolly, our other daughter's just like, I just wanted to hear makeup.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how it's all different. But those two are the ones that show kind of the turn on where it's like from normal
The mental
to
grit.
Yeah, that switch thing. I
hardcore.
mean, that is, you were talking about nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a nature thing. I mean, you are a guy, like when I think of you, it's like, yeah, your word is your bond. You say you're going to do this thing. Like, I know James is going to fulfill on that promise or die trying, like whatever's going to happen. Like you care so much about this promise that you make, whether it's to yourself or to the public. And that becomes like this anchor that holds you accountable to yourself in terms of like accomplishing these goals.
Yeah. And it's fun. It is fun to watch those kids that follow in that and you can start to see. But as far as doing what we do, man, none of them have any interest.
Yeah.
Zero.
we keep trying to pitch like mountain biking.
But you
No.
did like a big family hike up this mountain the other day,
Yeah.
They
right?
do that. They love that.
They
It's
love
family
it.
time.
They love
Dolly
it.
was crazy excited the whole time. I just love hiking. This is so much fun. And she's the kind of girl that like we have to get her out there. And then she realized Sunny's this way too. It's like I have to get Sunny to go do an activity. She's very resistant. And then she does it. And it's like, this is the best time I've ever
I'm a
had in
work-minded person.
I've ever had in my life.
So
Right.
And so
James-
no, we do stuff as a family. They're very active and very healthy, and they love to get out and do family stuff like that.
it's just
but
not something like triathlon.
yeah, not
No.
triathlon.
Maybe golf, independent sport. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, there is no such thing as an individual sport, as individual as, triathlon and multisport is. I mean, this really was a beautiful team effort and family journey that you guys went on. It's super inspiring to so many people. I love you guys a ton. I appreciate you coming to share today. And maybe we can just end this with a few thoughts for the person out there who does struggle with getting off the couch or just figuring out how to bring that will into execution. How do you start to show up? Like, what if you've never showed up or you haven't flexed that muscle before and you're inspired by, what you guys have done and the example that you've set? Like, how do you get that person activated?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is helping them realize that we started from the very beginning. Same self-doubt, same outside criticism coming in, same trying to battle that conversation. And just set yourself the smallest goals. One of the best examples I've ever read was from the book Atomic Habits, James Clear, when he said, okay, you don't go to the gym. You're 350 pounds. Your goal is to go to the gym for literally 5 minutes. When 5 minutes is up, you have to leave the gym. And the person on the beginning of their journey would be like, I'm not going to accomplish anything by going to the gym for 5 minutes a day. Because the flip side of that is someone says, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 90 minutes, 6 days a week, and they fail every single time. It's inevitable. It always happens. Nobody that is at the beginning of their journey can set an expert level goal and accomplish it. And the whole process or reason for doing that is because it's a mind. It's a mind deal. And you now become, even though you've only gone to the gym for 5 minutes, if over the past 2 weeks you've gone to the gym every day for 5 minutes, you now can say the words, I'm a gym goer.
Right. I'm the kind of person who goes to the gym.
I go to the gym.
Every day.
I go to the gym every single day. And so my advice to someone who's just starting is, one, absolutely realize that your journey is worth it. You're worth showing up on your own journey, and meet yourself where you're at today. And set that expectation, but then set yourself such almost a ridiculously achievable goal so that you can start to gain confidence and momentum. And once you do that, now push the limits. Now start to go. You can't go from 0 to 100. My journey didn't start off the couch 100 Ironmans. It started a 4-mile fun run that I struggled through, that Sunny made fun of me for, that put us on this journey. So ultimately, it's her fault that we're here.
Yeah, I know.
But really, that's my biggest.
I take accountability.
You created this whole insanity.
This monster. So that's my advice: is meet yourself where you're at today. Believe in yourself. Know that you're enough, and to just start and set yourself almost a ridiculously low goal to give yourself some confidence and momentum.
I'd say find something hard to do every day. For some people, that hard is,
Brushing your teeth,
or talking to the person checking you out at the grocery store, or to just leave the house, or to, make a phone call that you have been putting off. But I mean, every time I mountain bike, if I'm on an easy stretch, I intentionally look for like hard rocks and stuff to hit, because I'm like, there's no better time to practice going over those rocks than in this safe zone. So find hard things to do inside your safe zone, and just do it one hard thing a day.
Yeah.
One hard thing.
Solid advice, both you guys. I'm going to resist the temptation to ask you the question that I'm sure everybody asks you at the end of these things.
What's
you know
next?
what it is? You know what it is, right? What's next? I'm not going to ask you that. I don't want to know what's next. There doesn't have to be a next.
I've got a great answer.
You guys do you?
I
All
do.
right. I didn't ask you, by the way.
I know you don't. I'm gonna volunteer.
Let me handle this. Hey, Jay, so what's next?
What's next? Yes. So obviously we're in the recovery phase of what we're doing. That is what's right in front of us. What's next? But I've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of recovery of biohacking the mind and the body, and all of the incredible tools that are out there, if you have access to them, to utilize them, just with food and just everything. What's next for me would be to live a healthy, sustainable quality of life beyond age 105. So
He keeps changing it.
There you go.
It used to be 100.
I know, but then you said you're going to live to
I said
one.
I can live. I'm going to live as a widow because I'll make it to 100, but you'll be 105.
I know. So I said 105 because there's 5 years
Okay.
difference.
Is
See, I
that
had to
5
adjust it
years?
because I want to be with you.
Well,
I got a couple
okay.
guys you should talk
Okay.
to and a couple books for you to read.
I'm reading Dave Asprey's book right now.
Yeah. You read David Sinclair's book? You should read that. This guy, Sergey Young, who was just on the podcast, has a book that just came out called Growing Young.
Cool. I'm
pretty
fascinated
interesting
with
stuff
all
in
of it
there.
because obviously my whole career has been breaking my body down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm to the point now where I'm like, okay,
It's oxidative stress.
I need to build this back up so that I can hit this goal of what's next and living to beyond 105. So,
Well, the amazing thing is throughout this whole thing, you really didn't lose any body weight. Like you maintained your weight
in both
and
campaigns.
People ask us all the time, is he on steroids or something? No, he's just born like that.
no, I just eat a lot of food.
You do. Yeah.
I ate so much food. It was one of the hardest things we did was eat that amount of food to
Yeah.
maintain it. Yeah, it's been crazy.
You guys are welcome back here anytime. I love talking to you today. Thanks.
We love you, Rich.
And
See you
you
tomorrow.
guys are easy to find. So people should check out your book, Redefine Impossible. There's the documentary, The Iron Cowboy, the 50-50-50 journey or something. What is it called
It's
exactly?
called Iron Cowboy. Currently sits on Amazon Prime.
Right, cool.
And then to follow anything crazy we do or what is next is we post everything on Instagram. So Iron Cowboy James, and then everything can be linked or found through our website, ironcowboy.com.
Yeah, cool. Right on. Sonny, any final words?
Sunny Joe Lawrence
Take
on
us out.
Instagram. I'm not very good at posting, but I've set this new goal because people keep asking me to post. People keep requesting, and I have to get in the habit.
You have to get out of your comfort zone.
Do something hard,
something
Sonny.
I know, I've
hard,
said it.
Sonny.
Well, I
Create
did those,
that new atomic habit. Be the person
That's
who...
the plan. I got you. The problem is this. I did those closet talks to day 98, and then all of a sudden Instagram wouldn't let me load videos. So I haven't been able to load any videos. I can't figure out what's wrong with it. It's this weird thing. I've tried deleting the app, I've tried everything. So then I got out of the habit. And so I've been getting requests like, please post more. So I'm doing that. I'm starting the habit. It's happening.
You are a problem solver. And it sounds like a problem that you could probably solve.
Almost sounded like an excuse. This is bad.
Know,
we should end this right now.
No, explanation. But this is it. This is the new habit. I'm going to post.
I'm going to log on Instagram tomorrow and see what's what.
It's going to happen. Okay. Tomorrow. Okay. Good to know. I got a deadline. I got to do something today.
Peace. All right, you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Peace.